Howdy, yokes! Before we get started today, we just want to let you know that this episode of Bacon and Eggs is brought to you by you. We want to build this thing to be as big as it can be. More episodes, merchandise, events, giveaways, you name it. But we can't do it alone. If you enjoy this episode, or any of our episodes, head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bacon and Eggs. And consider checking out some of the great reward tiers we've got set up over there, or making a donation of any kind. We want to keep this podcast free and available for everyone. So if you have a couple of bucks to spare, anything goes a long way. And we could really use your help to make this podcast the best it can possibly be. So thank you for donating, and thank you even more for listening.
Welcome back to Bacon and Eggs. I'm Tyler Carlin.
And I'm Ethan Edgehill.
Oh, and I'm John. Yeah.
And that's John, and we're coming to you again from a long, long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
So strap on your metal bikini.
And raise the roof so high you're touching C-3PO.
Because we've got a special guest today.
For Star Wars Episode 6.
Return of the Jon Negroni.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You like that?
Coming to us once again from the internet in California.
Mm-hmm. Well, I prefer to be called the Dead Eye, but you know, that's just the party.
Zing!
But this is, John is coming to us again. He's the
John's
host of
back.
the Cinemaholics podcast. He wrote 2 books. He told us he'd give them to us last time, and then he did.
Yeah, well, that's what follow-ups are for.
Yeah, well, to be fair, we do chat pretty regularly.
Okay, so I will tell you, I just finished the second book in my new series last week, and the new cover design of Killer Joy is almost ready. The reason I haven't sent it is because they sent me the print to approve it, and it was pixelated. And so I have like 10 copies I'm supposed to give away in the next couple of weeks, and it's taking forever, so I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm not
You're
that,
good.
but I'm pretty mad.
You sound hurt.
So this is the sequel to Killer.
It's called Vanguard. It comes out in September of this year.
Is it available for
So
pre-order?
exciting.
No. Well, I'm not worried about selling out.
Well, after you've been on this show, you never know.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
This is quite the press tour you've got going here.
My junket is insane.
Right. But anyway, Return of the Jedi was released May 25th, 1983. That was 12,740 days ago on a shoestring $32 million budget. But it made its money back with $475.1 million worldwide box office. It is the worst received on Rotten Tomatoes by critics. Ethan, do you want to go over those numbers?
Wait, before we talk about critical stuff, I want to say 2 things.
Yeah.
A, the movie did not make a profit. It made a lot of money off of merchandising, but they intentionally did not make a profit on this movie so that they wouldn't have to pay certain people. And B, another interesting timeline with this is it came out exactly 6 years after the original Star Wars, same exact day.
May 25th?
That's crazy.
Weird, because
That's
May
crazy.
4th.
That's exciting.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do?
You know,
May 4th
I don't
was probably
think
a
they
Tuesday.
had thought of May the 4th
May the 4th be with
at that point.
Gets me every time. That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's a neat little tidbit of information. They didn't say that on the direct commentary when I was watching it.
Anyway, this movie got the worst out of the original trilogy as far as scores on Rotten Tomatoes go, with an 80 critic and a 94 audience, as well as a 58 on Metacritic, which is considerably lower than the rest.
That's all sucks.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
That sucks. That's like the worst Star Wars.
I don't think so. I think Phantom was worse.
Phantom Menace is literal.
And you can't really say the prequels because, at least the first one got re-released, so people kind of turned on it.
What are you talking about? Episode 1?
Yeah, the Phantom Menace, because I think, did we ever talk about this off the air at some point? But I'm pretty sure when Phantom Menace initially came out, the reviews were very positive. It wasn't until it was re-released in theaters years later that the backlash had finally, crystallized, because movie blogging basically was born out of the prequels being, outed as, not actually good films.
Well,
This
there's
is
that great video from when the Phantom Menace came out, and it's all the celebrities and people that went to see the movie, and everybody's just like, oh my god, it was the greatest thing ever. And then at the end, there's that one guy who's like, are you kidding? That was awful.
Yeah, I think the Plinkett reviews that came out later kind of illuminated that for way more people.
Right. So the fact that it was just a garbage pile.
Sure. Especially people who were kids like me when Phantom Menace came out, and we didn't know any better. We just liked
yeah.
it.
We
When I
didn't
was-
know any better.
When I was a child and Phantom Menace came out, it was the coolest movie that had ever been released.
That's a lightsaber with 2 ends.
Right. I was like, I want to be Darth Maul. So don't get me wrong. I'm not coming to this from a place of I hate the prequels. I've always hated the prequels. I loved the Phantom.
Yeah. You weren't 14 or whatever, how old you were coming out of that theater. I guess, wow, you would not have been 14. You would have been 8 years old or something.
I was 6. Yeah.
You weren't like a 6-year-old, like wearing a trilby hat, you know, like smoking a pipe. Like, well, you know, the cinematography, he left something to be desired.
I was like, that's a lightsaber with 2 ends.
Ethan was still saying things like, I had fun with it at that point.
Now listen to my band on cassette player.
I do remember when I was about the time of Phantom Menace, I wrote a song set called Peach. I was sick.
good?
I was 6.
What was your instrument?
I think we had like a cardboard box with some real drumsticks. That was a big.
I bet you it was better than the entire dance song number in Jabba the Hutt's palace.
Oh my god! Like the re-release dance number, terrible, absolutely terrible.
Wait, was there originally a different number?
Kind of.
It's a totally different song.
Yeah, and it's like you can tell, right? Because it's and they added the CGI aliens and all of that. Oh,
yeah, it was. I mean, I know it was bad, but oh lord,
the CGI aliens, they don't look bad if it was like a CGI alien, like entirely about CGI aliens.
But then they intercut it with Boba Fett looking stern, you know, and you're like, this is a different movie in the background.
Right.
There's all too much Jabba in this. If I'm being completely honest,
are we jumping to this already? Because I'm ready to, you know, we didn't even talk about the good, positive, negative reviews.
Oh, you're right.
Oh yeah, let's do that. I'll move that around in post.
My favorite part.
Positive. John, you never wrote a review, so we can't read yours. Although maybe we'll see that in the next few days.
Nah, I don't know about that. Although I did consider, I was doing debate week, and I was considering what is the best summer movie. I ended up going with Jurassic Park, but yeah, Star Wars was one of the contenders, obviously.
You're like a Jurassic... I mean, there's no disrespect to Jurassic Park. I don't want to come off like that kind of person, but you're like a Jurassic Park apologist.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite Spielberg film. And I honestly think it is one of the best movies. I mean, it's not in my top 5. It's my number 6 of all time. It's close.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I like Jurassic Park better than Star Wars. I mean, you don't have to like it. That's entirely up to you. I mean, you have to like
it's not like...
You have to respect it.
Yeah, I look at it...
I love Jurassic Park. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it's objectively better than, I guess, like Empire Strikes Back or maybe even A New Hope. But, I mean, I'm just in the tank for Jurassic Park. Like, my wedding that did not happen was Jurassic Park themed.
Get
like,
the front door out of town.
Yeah, it was going to be at the Oakland Zoo. And we had save the date invitations and everything. And it was Marriage Finds a Way. Spoiler alert, it didn't. But still, like, you know, like it was pretty cool. And it was, save the date was in like the Jurassic Park font typography. It was amazing.
Yeah, I had like a Jurassic Park birthday party.
Was that Alexa talking to you in the background?
Like, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, it was me either.
Let's read those positive and negative reviews.
Okay, Vincent Canby from the New York Times said about this movie, will Han Solo ever fly again, or is he forever doomed to remain a wall decoration in the pleasure palace of Jabba the Hutt? Does Princess Leia do her own hair, or does she pay somebody to make it look that? Who, or perhaps what, is Salacious Crumb? When will Luke Skywalker become a true Jedi Knight? Where does Yoda do his shopping? Will Darth Vader sacrifice his only begotten son so that evil might triumph? And speaking of Vader, when he takes off his mask, what is underneath? James L. Jones, David Prowse, a cantaloupe? All but 2 of these questions, plus dozens more you never thought to ask, are answered in Return of the Jedi. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
Man, Vincent was having a day. Wow.
Yeah, he was mad.
Yeah. When do you have a date on that?
May 25th, 1983.
Oh, so you've got like a
release date.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he had his typewriter like in the theater. I don't know if they had press screenings.
Yeah, mechanical typewriter sitting there.
It's a cantaloupe.
All right, give us your positive review, Tyler. Do people like this movie?
Yeah, people generally like this movie. I think reading these reviews before we did this, I think people were more disappointed with this movie than I realized. But the positive review I have, I think, is the essence of what we know about Star Wars. It comes to us from Robert Butler at the Kansas City Star. He says, the film has special effects so incredible that it will become the standard by which future efforts are measured, and it leaves the audience cheering and happy. So not only is it super pretty, but it also has a good story, and it's happy. And so he liked it. But that was December 14th, 2015. So I don't know if he just didn't see any movies for like 37 years with better special effects, but...
I want to say part of that whole thing with like people not liking Return of the Jedi when it came out, that's kind of like people like my brother. Brother's a bit older than me, and he was the one who introduced me to all 3 Star Wars films. And my first memory of watching a Star Wars film was watching Return of the Jedi with him, and he always prefaced it as, okay, this is the one that's not that great. Because apparently he was too old for it. But like, if you were young enough, I think people really loved this when it came out and they went to the theater and they lost their minds.
I don't know, man. I watch movies mostly with a childlike wonder, and I think it's probably, like, I didn't realize it until I was watching it. It's probably been a good 10 years since I sat down, totally sober, and watched this.
You had to add that quantifier, huh?
Right.
We had a moment back in college.
We had a moment. I mean, it wasn't like drugs or anything, but it totally sober, watched this movie.
You were on some blue milk, huh?
Yeah.
Milk plug.
Yeah, sure. And when it got to the Ewok thing, I was immediately like, this is so stupid. The rest of, like, literally, if they had gone with Lucas's original idea of having it be a Wookiee planet instead of an Ewok planet, the movie
hey, don't discount it. It was Lucas who eventually was like, we're going to do the Ewoks. That was his call.
No, I know. It was his call because he was like, Chewie knows how to fly a spaceship, and if Wookiees know how to fly spaceships, then they're not.
That's the optimistic. The pessimistic is that he wanted to make new toys, and they would be more kid-friendly.
Right. Well, whatever. Lucas in the commentary, like, yeah,
he's full of crap.
There's
footage of him, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Lucas has always been full of crap.
Well, I think A New Hope is the only one that, to me, feels like it's out of continuity. I feel like the other 8 movies really make sense together, but A New Hope says some things where you're like, I mean, would Obi-Wan have really said that to Luke?
Well, they're all part of, like, Obi-Wan in the first one says, strike me down and I will return stronger than you ever imagined. Because they were originally going to resurrect him in the third movie. He was supposed to come back to life. But then by the time they got to Return of the Jedi, I forget whose call it was, but I'm pretty sure Kaz didn't convince Lucas not to do that. It caused a lot of problems on set because Alec Guinness was like, I'm just going to come on for one scene. Like, what the heck?
I'm surprised by that. I thought he was like an anti-Star Wars kind of person.
Well, I think they were like thinking it was going to be way too much like Gandalf or something.
Gandalf hadn't happened. I mean,
no,
it had.
Well, the books.
Like, Tolkien
I mean,
had happened.
Lord of the Rings, the book was like a huge inspiration on the trilogy that he had in mind. His inspirations were definitely like Kurosawa, Flash Gordon, and Tolkien.
I don't remember Ewok.
Yeah, they're like little evil orcs with fur.
Right.
Because when you watch Return of the Jedi, like, I know people who watched that movie for the first time since they were kids, and they're like, whoa, those Ewoks were like murderous, cannibalistic little freaks. 'Cause they were.
They're not as cute and cuddly as you remember.
They're cute. They're cuddly. But they're also evil and brutal and ready to eat Han Solo.
Yeah, they're cute and cuddly as much as, like, Chucky.
But I like how they turn on a dime. It adds to the atmosphere.
I mean, Luke is... I get the whole point is, like, there was this reveal that Luke decided to stay on the good side, and that was like, oh man, he's wearing black, and what's gonna happen? But he is literally force-choking people in that first scene.
Yeah, but that's part of what makes the writing so good is because he uses a combination of everything he's observed and learned, and it foreshadows the possibility of him turning the dark side because he uses the force choke that he learned from Vader through observation. And then he uses the Jedi mind trick that he learned from Obi-Wan. That's how you know he's a Jedi Knight, that he has a range of powers. And that's why it makes sense that his almost undoing is a force power that he didn't expect, which is force lightning.
Yeah, man, can you imagine being like, okay, I've got this whole force thing down. Kind of touch things without touching them. And now you can make lightning come out of your hands. That doesn't
No, you will die.
So be it.
I still love the Emperor. I'm all in. The Emperor is by far my favorite villain.
You know, they like cast a different actor, and then he dropped out because he apparently got really sick, and then Ian McDormand was a second choice, and it worked out because he was actually a bit younger than they were they were planning, but it worked out because in the prequels he could reprise his role, and it didn't, it actually fit.
Right.
Yeah.
He was like dead.
He was like a stage actor, so like he was able to like use special techniques to project his voice, and he like all that stuff where he's like so creepy and weird. That's his call, and he convinced Lucas and Marquand to do that, to let that happen.
He's probably the best part of this movie, or one of the best parts.
Oh yeah.
I mean, literally the only thing I don't like is the Ewoks. I texted Ethan this morning and I was like, take the Ewoks out of this, put like a rebel contingency on the forest moon of Endor, or like Wookiees or something like that, and this is easily the best one in the series.
I disagree, but I have heard a really cool idea put forth by people that's like they should have convinced Jabba the Hutt to let him and his like gang army take on the Empire. Because my major flaw with the movie is that there's a clear story arc for Luke Skywalker, but the arc for Leia and Han is so thin. Like there's no change. Like it's just, they just kind of go along, and all of the character development is on Luke and Vader. But if you had introduced Jabba as a more relevant, purposeful character, you could have had like, I don't know, it would have added a flourish to the story of like, the galaxy uniting to overthrow the Empire.
Well, that's a genius idea. I like that. I'm all in.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I wish that had happened. Because you really don't get you don't get as much from Leia and Han as you should have. Because they're these incredible characters. They had, obviously, stories behind them, and the stories are just never fleshed out, forward or backward.
Well, and I like that Han is... Watching these last two made me realize how important it is that we get a Han Solo movie. Like, I wasn't about it, and I'm still apprehensive about the film coming.
I don't know if I'm with you there.
Well, he just says so many things, and his relationship with Lando seems to have so much depth that it's like, I want to see where this came from. And I think if they're able to do it correctly and make it sort of fit with some of the things he says, then I think it's going to be a really exceptional. I really do. But I fear that that's going to be a huge challenge. But they did a really good job with the parallels from 5 and 6 to 7 and 8 with Snoke and the Emperor, and I was happy with that, where it was like, you know, when you see episode 5, you're like, who the crap is the Emperor?
Yeah.
Like, if you've never seen 1, 2, and 3, like, why do I even care? Who is this guy? And then and now he's dead. Okay, well, that was an interesting story.
Spoilers for The Last Jedi.
Well, yeah, sorry. This is Bacon and Eggs. We don't.
If you haven't seen Last Jedi by now, you're asking for it.
Yeah, if you're wondering what happens to Snoke.
And yet people still get upset.
Well, here's the thing. This is why people get upset. Is because then we got the prequel. Like, oh my gosh, I know so much about the Emperor now. He's such an ingenious character. I love him. He's so good. He went from like senator on Naboo advising Padme to literal Emperor Palpatine.
They squeezed the lore for all the blue milk they could get. And it's set up. People forget that the prequels kind of birthed the fandom of speculation, and they just brought about this culture of like plot twists mean good plots, and that's why people were disappointed that like the new filmmakers were like, let's not do that, let's just make a really cool story with great revelations instead of twists, and people don't like that.
You talking about the sequels now?
Like Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So you think people like the prequels more than the sequels?
No, but I think like people like I remember the hype for the prequels was huge, and it's like you're saying, it propped up a culture of speculation, and like, you know, the Marvel movies kind of took that to a totally new level, and in some ways the DC cinematic universe did too. But with the prequels, like the way that people were like speculating on like who was going to be Revenge of the Sith, and like, you know, how is this all going to play out, and you know, I was only like 15 around this time, but I was caught up in it too.
Oh yeah, I think we all, that it was like, how are they going to connect? I think what bothered me more than anything was like, okay, clones, I get the clone troopers don't wear the same uniform as the stormtroopers, so that how are they going to get there? And then of course they didn't.
I mean, the video game Battlefront 2 did.
Yeah, the 501st.
Yeah.
But that's not canon, so...
Yeah, which they took out of canon.
Did they?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, I played the new Battlefront 2, and I guess they don't refer to the 501st. It's still canon to me.
That's what we call a head canon.
Yeah, you can't just declare something's canon.
Sure I can.
Sure
I can.
Disney can do whatever they want, apparently.
Yeah, Disney can burn old Star Wars books on screen.
Say
that they weren't very good in the first place.
Do it. Burn it.
Not page turners they were.
Can I say real quick that I watched the trilogy every Christmas, the original trilogy, around the holidays. I pop down, you know, put them on Blu-ray, and I always watch them, not like all 3 in a row, but like over the course of like a couple of days. And so like I watch Return of the Jedi very often, and if I just want to come out with it, I love Return of the Jedi. I don't know where you guys are at, but I think it's so underappreciated, and I think I even like the Ewoks. That's where I'm at.
I need you to sell. I mean, listen, I understand where you're coming from. I'm a huge Attack of the Clones guy. Nobody's like me. Exactly.
It could be the end of our friendship, actually. Attack of the Clones is the only bad Star Wars movie in my opinion. The Phantom Menace is
the only bad Star Wars movie. But I definitely hear what you're saying. I want you to sell it to me then. Tell me why I should like it and the rest of the movie.
Well, I've never understood why people hate the Ewoks so much. I like the fact that they go from like these murderous little things, and then people are like, how did they beat the stormtroopers? It's their turf, and they're violent, and they didn't like win easily. So I totally buy it, and I think they represent the sort of scrappy rebel army in a much better way than if we had gotten a rebel army. And if it had been Wookiees, we never would have gotten that tension of like, oh, they might lose. You know, the Wookiees are such a commanding, dangerous force, and we wouldn't.
Yeah, they would have ripped the stormtroopers apart.
Yeah, like it wouldn't have been as like, what's gonna happen? And I also think there was way too many references to like, you know, there's Tatooine, which is Luke's home planet, and if they had been like, well, here's Chewbacca's home planet, there wouldn't have been enough new material. We even go to Dagobah again. We even have the Death Star again. So I think the Endor stuff and the Ewoks, I think it's all properly set up. I think it's a breath of fresh air, and I think it works really well.
I don't know, man. They're little fluff balls.
They're cute. And when the one gets blown up, come on. Don't tell me you didn't feel nothing.
I felt sad. I definitely felt sad.
What do you think? I mean, I hear you, but it's like, and I'm on the same page. Like, I really enjoyed watching a lot more than I thought I would. It's got some stupid stuff like the Ewoks and like you said, the thin story for Han and Leia, Boba Fett going out such a lame way.
The music, dance number, in Jabba's palace.
One of
of the biggest blights upon Star Wars lore.
It hurts.
It's not great. That specific scene,
It's
especially
so
in
creepy too when Jabba's reeling her in with the chain, and it's like, what am I watching? It's such an imbalance of like the way the music sounds, and it's this dark, seedy, like it's so 80s, I guess.
But I do like. More than anything, I think this is the only movie that I can tolerate C-3PO. Like, I feel like his jokes actually hit well and they're timed well and I'm laughing. Mm-hmm. And this movie generally is funny, at least for the first half or so. They're like...
A lot of great humor.
Yeah, a lot of really good humor. And like, I really enjoyed that. And I think Luke's character, like making Luke much darker and confident and powerful, more grown up, instead of like a whiny baby, to me is good. I like that. Because that parallels the arc with Anakin, where he starts off as like a sniveling, whining piece of crap. And then, now he's Darth Vader.
And he starts wearing black all of a sudden?
Yeah.
They both started wearing black all of a sudden?
Well, I think the Emperor dressed Darth Vader.
No, I mean, Anakin.
Yeah.
Like, in episode 3.
Yeah, he was wearing darker colors throughout. But I don't think was he wearing black?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole movie, he was wearing that, like, black tunic.
It rhymes. He was also wearing, like, blacks, like, darker tones in Attack of the Clones, wasn't he?
Maybe. You gotta remember, Attack of the Clones Anakin had short hair. So
Well,
it's
yeah.
tough
He wore, like, brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so did Obi-Wan.
No, Obi-Wan pretty
He wore, like,
consistently wore that
beige.
tan. Yeah. That, like, Desert Storm color.
Hello there.
The source of their problems is that Obi-Wan's looked like sand. Anakin got
And
Is that the
Anakin
problem?
hated sand.
slowly just couldn't take it anymore.
So,
Really hate him.
you
You
know,
were the chosen one. It gets everywhere.
It's coarse and it's rough.
I hate both of you. I hate both of you. But no, like, we've reviewed a lot of movies that are worse than this. Like, I'm not trying to just sit here and shit on Star Wars for a minute. Like, we've reviewed 4 Star Wars movies that are worse than this.
Okay. Do you guys rank it, like, with every Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
We have so far.
What is
We haven't.
We haven't gotten there yet. But
Oh, okay.
But I think it's a pretty clear choice. Like, in my mind, I was coming into the original trilogy and being like, I don't know, I really enjoy Revenge of the Sith. Like I like Attack of the Clones as a guilty pleasure. I get that it's bad. We're all on the same page. But I like it. It's mine. And I'm going to keep liking it. Phantom Menace is literal garbage. I think Revenge of the Sith is a well put together film. And it's got cool choreography, got a neat story, and it's got power of the dark side. And you know what? It's gospel. So if you don't like it, like, it's not up to you. This is just what happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, I think Revenge of the Sith is the better of the prequels, but it's got so many problems, and it's just such a Hayden Christensen. I don't get what he was doing in those movies, and it's just such a misfire.
no idea. It's such bad acting.
He's not the best.
And how do you take Natalie Portman, one of the most, like, she was at her peak, you know, and her charisma, and like, she's like a wet towel in this. I don't know. In Attack of the Clones, she had a spark, but
Yeah, she did. She was interesting in Attack of the Clones.
it's one nice thing I'll probably ever say about Attack of the Clones.
But no, I mean, this is exactly what I told Ty was going to happen. He's sitting there, we're like knee deep in the prequels, and he's like, man, I don't know, man. I just love these movies, man. I just love these movies. And I'm like, yeah, but wait till we get to review like an actual movie again. And he's like, no, I don't think so. I think they're still going to stack up pretty highly. And no,
yeah. So
From
this
the
is
minute-
better than
From the minute A New Hope starts, you're like, yeah, those other movies.
this is better than Revenge of the Sith, and I thought it might not be. I really did. And
Well, so we put out a question in our Facebook group a while back, like, hey guys, what's your favorite Star Wars? Like, give us your Star Wars rank. And a bunch of people were like, Return of the Jedi is the best one. And I was
Honestly,
just kinda like,
I get that.
what?
I totally
And now
get that.
I do get it more after watching, because it had been a long time since I've seen it, and I get it a lot more. I get why people like it, because it's just completely enjoyable. It's not as intense as the rest of them necessarily, but it's completely enjoyable. Like, there's still not that many faults you can find.
well, I think the contrast is really good, because I think the Luke storyline, he's a lot more serious, and everybody else is a lot more relaxed. So I think that contrast makes Luke even seem like what he's doing is even more. And this is like Mark Hamill's only good acting credit ever.
Whoa, hey, Brigsby Bear.
What is Brigsby Bear?
Brigsby Bear. It's the movie Mark Hamill was in with the guy from SNL, Kyle Mooney. Brigsby Bear. It was our Cinemaholics movie of the year in 2017.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Mark Hamill is in this movie, and I'm just going to tell you guys, like, without telling you anything about the plot, do not look it up. Don't find out what this movie's about. Blind watch that thing.
Okay.
Just trust me.
I will do that. It sounds like it's about a bear, and I'm going to make a comment like, why do you like bear movies so John?
Don't even watch the trailer.
Okay.
Oh, because you like Paddington.
It's,
Yeah, because last time he was on the podcast, he's just like, guys, you need to see Paddington.
yeah, you'll understand. This is nothing like Paddington 2. I do like bears. But this is not
Well,
this
you
is not a
are from
CGI kids
California.
movie. Yeah, it's on the flag.
Do you have one of those stupid t-shirts or tank tops that's got the flag on it?
Oh, you bet your sweet ass I've got one of those stupid t-shirts.
God, I just want to fly out there and smack you, but I can't afford it.
You have like a California Republic flag hanging in your bedroom.
Oh, I should.
Oh, you should.
Yeah, I think the only poster I have on my wall right now, because I'm moving, is a Lava poster.
Like Lava the
like
Pixar
from
short?
Yeah, it's the one I got it at Pixar. The guy who directed that short, he actually I got to talk to him and stuff, and he gave out like the posters to a few of us.
I think that might be my favorite Pixar short of all.
I love that short, and when people complain about it, it breaks my heart a little bit.
How can you complain about it?
They don't know the story.
You felt sad for a volcano. Like there's no more Pixar thing that's ever happened
Preaching
than
to the choir.
making you feel bad for a volcano.
People don't know that it's like the Israel Komokawaka like
Oh yeah, people did get upset. They're like, "Oh, I see how it is. He's a big fat guy, and she's a real like skinny girl. That's just the patriarchy." And I was
People
like,
are upset about that? I don't remember that.
I saw a bunch of people being upset about that. Maybe it was just my particular like following on Twitter.
Yeah, you've
that
got an
time.
interesting group of friends over there.
But yeah, people were upset about that. And then somebody was just like, "Are you kidding me? They're real people. That's what they look like."
I mean, John, you have to remember that Tumblr bleeds into our Twitter, so do what you will with that information. We don't have just mature adults.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it's
I
not
mean,
just
don't look at
film
me
Twitter
for
over
mature adults on Twitter. My Twitter feed is like adults who think they're mature. We get into petty stuff all the time. I got into this ridiculous argument with a Twitter person over Jurassic Park not being serious enough or something. It was ridiculous.
People die in Jurassic Park. Like
No,
on
but
screen.
that's the thing. Is like his complaint was that like Nedry was too cartoonish and it didn't fit the film. To which I was saying it perfectly illustrates the bumblingness of humanity when we try to control nature, and it's a perfect end to that character. And like the premise itself is cartoonish. So
Yeah. John, you are one of two people on Twitter that I look to for movie review advice or movie advice. It's just you and Ben Mankiewicz.
oh, cool. Ben's great.
Yeah. Do you know him personally? You guys all know each other?
No, but I've interacted more with like Alonzo, but I've been following Ben Mankiewicz though since like he had his show, since he was on At the Movies on Reel's channel. Yeah. But I will say I have a hard time comparing the original trilogy to each other, because even with Return of the Jedi, I just don't see it as a movie on its own. I see it as part 3. Like I see it as the third act of one long movie. Does that make any sense?
It definitely does.
For sure. I mean, you can't look at Return of the Jedi on its own, almost. You either have to look at it as a third part of a 3-movie series, or you have to look at it as just a continuation of Empire.
Yeah. And you can say the same thing for Empire. Like, it doesn't stand on its own perfectly. It doesn't try to.
No, I agree, but like, there's more similarities to me between Empire and Jedi than there are between A New Hope and Empire.
Yeah, you're right, because the structures between, like, New Hope and Return of the Jedi have the same plot structure. They both start with a rescue, and then they both end with a big battle sequence. Whereas Empire starts with a battle sequence and ends with a rescue.
Yeah, they feel like a part 1 and 2 of a second story to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's not as clearly illustrated here as it is in, like, if you look at the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but it's that same kind of feeling where, like, 1 kind of stands on its own, and then 2 and 3 go together.
Yeah, I think all good trilogies can do that. But then you have a trilogy like Lord of the Rings, which was always meant to be one long story from the get-go. And, like, you can even tell that, like, he kind of gapped Fellowship and Two Towers arbitrarily, because it just picks up, like, from the moment Fellowship ends.
Which is weird for me, because Two Towers is by far, like, my favorite movie and my favorite book or part of the book.
I agree, yeah. It's the best part of this trilogy.
It's crazy, because normally I'm not a big second act fan, especially in movies. It's like, I get, or movies and books, I get kind of bogged down in the whole, like, it was a great introduction and the setup you did and everything, and then now we've got all this stuff that has to happen for you to get to the great ending.
I think, though, usually the second movie tends to be either the best or on par with the first, like Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, Godfather Part 2, and
Thor: The Dark
World. Yeah, I think that
Harry Potter and the
Wait, you're saying Godfather Part 2 is better than 1?
Yes. Oh,
Most
completely. Yeah. Godfather Part 2 is a masterpiece. The ending is so much more satisfying.
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's a clear favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I get why people would prefer the first one, but yeah, I believe the second one is everything the first one is better.
Fair enough. I mean, they're both incredible. I'm not going to take it away. There's a lot of people that'll tell you that one or the other is the best movie ever.
Some people will say Part 3 is better than you thought. No.
No.
I rewatched the Godfather trilogy and the Lord of the Rings trilogy in the last couple of months, and the Oceans trilogy, actually. And Oceans is another example.
There's a part 2 that's not that good.
Which I like part 2 a lot better than most people.
Yeah, part 2 is great.
Sorry.
I'm not saying it's the worst of the three. Don't get me wrong. It's the worst of the three, but it's not unwatchable like people claim it is.
I agree with that, yeah. It's definitely not unwatchable. I think it has some really clever fun.
Part 2 in the Ocean's trilogy reminded me a lot of the newer Italian Job movie. Am I just misremembering something, or is there like a clear connection with those two?
Yeah, I mean, Italian Job came out around the same time as the second one, didn't it?
And it's about an egg, right? That's what they get in the Italian Job.
Oh yeah, I never made that connection.
I didn't either. I just watched.
You need to be going
Ocean's
to Tyler
13,
for your movie
like a week
advice.
ago, or like 4 days.
Ocean's 2 or Italian's Job?
No, sorry, Ocean's 13.
Ocean's 13.
So
Are you guys excited about Ocean's 8?
I don't know.
I am.
I'm
so into it.
I hope it's good.
It's the same director, right?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's not Soderbergh, but I'm so into this. Like the idea of Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett and just that entire cast, like in a heist movie, is all I've ever wanted. But I don't know if you guys
ever wanted.
It's everything. Yeah, I am.
I can only hope it is done better and more tastefully than the new Ghostbusters.
Agreed. Yeah,
because like I get the logic behind like let's make it all women. Like I'm cool with that. I have no problem with that. Just like Ghostbusters was really bad, and I really
terrible
hope
comedy. Just terrible. It just wasn't funny. That was the biggest problem.
I really hope Ocean's 8 is better because it's got so much to live.
It has less of a burden because it doesn't have to be a comedy. It can have the style and fun of the first 3 Ocean's movies, but with different characters, which I think is really cool.
I'm just gonna be sitting there in the theater the whole time trying to find Caravan in the score, and if it's not there, I'm going to be upset.
Anyway,
I heard the entire soundtrack is Tears for Fears. Sorry.
Oh gosh, why?
What are we talking about?
We're talking about
Return of the Jedi is good.
Yeah,
Return
we're
of the
talking about
Jedi.
the third installment in the Star Wars trilogy, and we got started on other trilogies, and that's how we got to Ocean.
I will say it's on that track. I did a tweet a while back. I think you guys might have even taken part in it, but it was like name a third movie in a trilogy that's the best one. And not a lot of people. I'd say like a couple dozen people said Return of the Jedi in their lists. And that did surprise me because I didn't think as many people, like you said before, were that into it, but they are.
We said Thor Ragnarok. That's how we responded.
I remember that, yeah.
And that's a tough trilogy, though. But I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think you can say that this is the best one in the original Star Wars. I don't even think you could say it's the second. I think this is the worst movie in the original Star Wars trilogy. But that's not like an insult to it.
I don't know. I think it depends upon what parts of, like, I think the clear winner is Empire.
But
you watch the 3, it's obvious.
Return of the Jedi has some of the best, but it has some of the best scenes in all 3. That's what makes it tough.
Yeah, and I think it depends upon what you liked about Empire.
Yeah.
I think that determines whether you like Jedi or A New Hope. And I like...
You know what Return of the Jedi has that Empire just doesn't?
An insane amount of Han Solo charisma scenes.
No, it just, like, I get everybody loves the plot twist. Everybody loves how dark it gets. But Return of the Jedi has a second act that is devoted entirely to one last fun adventure with these characters. The interplay between C-3PO and R2-D2 and Chewbacca, Han, Leia, and Luke. When they go to Endor together, all the tense, like, they recreate the scene where, like, they're approaching the ship and like, oh, well, they make it through. And then when they get captured and when they're joking around together and when they have heart to hearts, and just that scene where C-3PO is like telling their whole story in front of the Ewoks, and you see the faces on these characters. And that is what I love about Return of the Jedi. It's these 2 massive acts that are these big, crazy set pieces. Luke versus Vader. And then it starts with the big, audacious rescue scene. No exposition. But then you just have this second act that's warm, that's fun, but that's also thrilling and action and spectacle. And I just don't see that in the first 2 movies. The first 2 movies are so quick and slapdash, and like things are like, we gotta move, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. Return of the Jedi has a secret ingredient there that I just think gets underlooked a lot.
Man, you were like all about this Return of the Jedi.
Well, and this was the point that I was gonna make almost, is it's almost a little bit more Star Wars than the other.
It combines it combines the adventure Flash Gordon stuff from the first one with the darker tone from the second one, which is why it feels so complete.
Like, they took everything they learned from A New Hope and everything they learned from Empire and everything Lawrence Kasdan and George Lucas learned from directing Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark and just smushed it together.
Mixed in some midi-chlorians in a pot.
Right, exactly.
There you go.
And you got this incredibly watchable, incredibly fun. I know you hate that word about movies, but it's a fun movie. It's like you're not miserable watching Jedi. You could make a case for being kind of bogged down watching it.
Well, and just to build on that, like Empire's got a lot of details. Jedi does introduce a bunch of characters that you don't need to know anything about. I remember one time tweeting, I was like, Admiral Akbar is kind of a side character, and it was like a competition between 2 characters for something, and one was like, just for sake of comparison, one was, I don't know, Aragorn versus Admiral Akbar. Like, who's more important or better? And I was like, well, that's Aragorn, obviously. There's no question. And somebody was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, Admiral Akbar is a totally minor side character. They were like, well, unfollow. Admiral Akbar is that. No, he's not. He's just not.
Yeah, that's an unfollow you can certainly live with, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that's a Star Wars thing, though. It's like, here's a character.
That's a trap.
Care
He's
about
a
it.
meme.
Yeah.
That's why I was so confused when people are like, you can't just kill off Admiral Akbar in The Last Jedi like that. Why not? Like,
Who cares?
What resolution were you hoping for with that character?
What story did that character have?
No, he's a symbol. He represents the old guard, and his death was necessary. That sounds really mean and Sithy, but it's true.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things about Last Jedi that are really mean and Sithy about, the old guard.
We've never talked about Last Jedi, have we?
We have not. I've never talked about Last Jedi on a pod. Ethan had.
Yeah,
And you
Ben
probably
Carlin and I did that episode.
I see.
I was on my honey.
We don't have to dwell on it, but where are you guys at with that movie?
So I've seen the Twitter moment that was like, people say that watching The Last Jedi the second time, it's much better. And I remember leaving the theater and being like, I'm in. I'm all about it. Let's go. I'm ready to defend this movie because I think people are going to be mad about that Leia thing. And then after a while, the internet kind of consumed.
Whoa.
And then I read that Twitter moment and I was like, you know what? I liked it before. I'll probably like it again, but I haven't watched it. So that's where I'm.
Okay. So to be continued.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. I loved it.
Same here.
I had no issues with it. I got out of the theater and saw people were upset about it, and I still have no idea. It's like, I get that you're like, oh, it fucks around with the canon. I mean, no, it doesn't. This is canon.
This is a gospel film, yeah.
This is what canon is. Live with it. It doesn't do anything to kind of mess around with what the first ones had created. Not to any great extent. So there's not a whole lot you can be mad about with it. Is it what everybody wanted? No, not necessarily, but that's gonna be a thing.
Yeah, and I like it better than Force Awakens, but I also liked Force Awakens a lot.
Whoa.
I think that was a good setup.
I think if you look at the Star Wars movies as 3 trilogies, I don't think The Last Jedi will be regarded as the best of the third trilogy.
I think it will be. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I think Force Awakens doesn't have the same spirit of invention that Last Jedi has. The Last Jedi isn't just a good Star Wars. It's like a great film. Like, there is so much more to unpack with what's going on with the characters in that movie. And I think the spectacle moments are so much more original. And I like Force Awakens. I think it's a romp, It's a movie I will say that I had fun with. But Last Jedi, I didn't just have fun with. It made me think. And it made me reconsider Star Wars, which to me puts it on par with the original trilogy. I'll say it. Bring on hate.
It has been Nick Caged to all hell on the internet.
Oh, well, I could not care less.
It's same here, and that's the thing, is like, you're getting upset about something for no reason. It's like, they could just have never made Star Wars again, and you could have been mad about that.
Do you think they're making too many?
No,
Too quick?
Too many too quick. It was 10 years between Revenge of the Sith and Force Awakens.
Yeah, it was 6 months between The Last Jedi and Solo.
Solo and Rogue One don't count.
I mean, I don't think they're doing any more spin-offs for a while, aren't they?
Solo should have been released this Christmas and not in May, but
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
they were on a good schedule there where it was like every Christmas there's some kind of Star Wars thing for 3 straight years, and now they're just like, end of May, Memorial Day, sure, why not?
Yeah, and it affected Infinity War. They had to move that one up to April.
If I was Marvel, I wouldn't be afraid of Solo.
I don't know. I think they're worried about diminished returns.
Do you know why Infinity War got moved? Was it to save Solo or was it to help Infinity War?
I guess they're both Disney.
I think they're trying to space things out better because I think they were under the impression that Wrinkle in Time wasn't going to be the lasting hit that they hoped for. And by releasing Infinity War on April 27, it doesn't cannibalize Solo, which comes out at the end of May. Because then once we roll into June, that's when Incredibles 2 is going to be coming out. So they have to, they just had way too many things coming out. It's a good problem to have, but I mean, yeah, they're going to be dominating this summer. Like, the biggest blockbusters are Disney.
This is definitely a year where Disney is sitting there going, man, we're going to release a movie whenever the fuck we want, and you can't do anything about it. Like, try and stop us.
I mean, you gotta remember, I think what blows my mind is The Last Jedi came out, as far as box office and everything. The Last Jedi came out, and then, like, within 3 weeks, it was getting its ass whooped by Jumanji.
Jumanji ended up being, I think, a lot better than a lot of people were anticipating.
Yeah, it broke $1 billion. I don't think anybody thought that was gonna happen.
Jumanji, we were talking about today in our Cinemaholics chat, but that is our most popular episode ever. It has like over 50,000 views, something like that, on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, and not counting our audio. That's just on the YouTube channel.
I didn't even know you guys had it.
We do, yeah. All of our episodes, except for our bonus ones, are on the We Got This Covered YouTube channel.
Oh, like with your faces?
No.
Okay. You don't. I've seen your face in a video before. You did like a brief series called like Pixar News.
Pixar Detective. I did that on Facebook Live, and no longer. But I've been doing videos on YouTube on my own channel, John in Theory, mainly because I feel bad because like I did a few videos that did really well on there. One of them was actually about The Force Awakens, the lightsaber theory. That one, it was one of my first videos, and it got like 600,000 or 700,000 views. But then I just didn't really make a lot of stuff after that. Like I made something about Guardians and then something about cars, and they all did really well. Like I think the Guardians one was like a couple of 100,000. But my thing is like I don't have time to make videos. Like I'd like to, and I like doing it. I think I can make decent videos. I don't like to be on them though. Like I don't know if you guys even know what I'm talking about, but like I don't show my face. Like I just do the video essay format, you know. But lately, every Tuesday, I have this period of time where I have time to record like a vlog in my car, and I've been doing that. And the one that came out yesterday was about Loki's role in the MCU not making any sense. So you can check that out if you want. It's like a 13-minute me full blast on Loki not making sense
with your face.
Yeah,
I'll have to go look at that because I truthfully have absolutely no clue what you look like.
Oh man, I was wanting to keep it that way, but
I mean that's fine. Live your life. Like
yeah.
you do. Like you're this smiley face on your Skype picture.
I'll send you a link, and then the mystery will end.
Well, I will watch. I don't know if I want the mystery to end, as I have an image of what you look like in my head, and it's probably very different.
Yikes! Well, I'll send it to Tyler.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a Twitter picture there for a while.
Well, it's still there. Like my Twitter right now.
Yeah, your Avi on Twitter was a picture of you.
Still is.
Yeah, it's not changed.
It's just it's very small, and I don't really click on people's Avies a lot.
Yeah, why would you?
I don't know. But yeah, so Jumanji, did a lot better than I think people were thinking it was going to. I loved it. Some people didn't. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it's not the movie we're here to talk about. We're Star Wars and Disney, who are just going to release movies every 2 months, sort of the end of time. Apparently,
sounds like every month.
Well, there was a while between Last Jedi and Black Panther.
Mm-hmm. A little bit like January when not much is coming out.
Yeah, and then Black Panther came out, and then March was A Wrinkle in Time.
I mean,
I still didn't see that.
Last Jedi still made 1.2 million. So 1.2 billion.
Yeah.
Right? So by no means,
it was a worthwhile investment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Force Awakens made 2.2 or whatever it was, but that was like decades of hype.
Well, I mean, the best as far as box offices go, the top 3 Star Wars movies, I think, the first one in the trilogy does better than the other 2 in the trilogy. Generally,
yeah, because Phantom Menace really let people down.
If I were Disney, I would do movie releases the same way you do political term limits every 4 years, but then every 2 years you do a spin-off. That's enough time to hype things up.
But they're making $1 billion of Star Wars.
Yeah, but they recognize that like they're making that now, but they're not going to keep making that forever. Like eventually people are going to get sick of it.
I think
that's what I think is after the 9 comes out, they're probably just going to stop for another 10.
No, I think they're going to do what they've been doing with Marvel because that's been successful, right? They've only done 2 Avengers movies in the last 10 years, right? They populate it with other stuff. I mean, they have Avengers 2.5 with Civil War, but Infinity War is coming out 3 years later. So like, I do think with Star Wars, they're probably considering this a lot right now, and they've probably already made their decision and are just sort of waiting and seeing how Solo's going to do.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to tell us when episode 9.
Infinity War is already at 200 million just in pre-sales.
Oh, I don't know for sure, but yeah, it's going to dominate.
Oh, yeah, I saw a stat that Infinity War has sold more pre-sale tickets than the last 7 Marvels combined. Like all the way back to Ant-Man.
So you're saying it's going to make more than Thor Ragnarok?
Yeah. Turns out, John, people don't agree with us that Thor Ragnarok is the best. Some people do.
Some people really love it, though. Most people love it.
Some people obviously. A lot of people are like, I cannot believe what they did to Thor.
Well, Black Panther did better than that. Black Panther's done better than most things.
Black Panther, I think, passed Avengers.
I think
it's
you're
like
right.
An obligation.
It's now the highest grossing superhero movie of all time in the US.
I think it's like 4th highest.
Yeah, for like another week.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll pass. I think Jurassic World is the next one for it to beat. Either Jurassic World or maybe it's Force Awakens. I don't remember.
Jurassic World was less good than Force Awakens, as far as box office goes, because that was they all came out in the same year. It was like that.
You're right.
Furious 7 and Force Awakens and Jurassic World, and there was some other movie, but they all did like insanely well, and it was like each of them occupied the top spot for like a month.
Yeah. 2015 was intense. 2014 was the year of great films. 2015 was the year of like good films that made a lot of money.
that made a lot of money. Yeah.
We must have been all about
My
movies.
favorite movie, we were, Ty, that was the time we went to like 5 movies in a week.
Every Tuesday, man, $6 fare.
That was when we saw Inside Out, Jurassic World, Entourage, and something else in the span of like 5 days.
Oh man, you guys should do a film festival. Watching like 5 to 10 movies in like 2 days is really fun.
Well, as soon as we
You've
can,
got an endurance I don't have.
I would love to
it
do that.
sounds hard.
As soon as I get the kind of the kind of clout where I can do stuff like that.
No. People go to these things, people who just love movies as much as we do. And I swear to you, it's not as grueling as it probably sounds.
Wait, you can just go to these things?
Yeah.
I thought you had to be like press.
You buy tickets.
No, yeah, you just buy tickets.
Yeah, people who go to Sundance, like, you don't have to be like an industry insider. Like, I mean, I'm a member of the film festival, so I pay like I get like a discount, but like, yeah, people just buy tickets who just love movies.
So did you go to Sundance?
No, I've always wanted to go though. I was looking at packages, and my thing was that I didn't think that I could get the time off work.
Gotcha.
You work for a fruit company.
Sorry, I was drinking my tea, and yeah, my apple cranberry tea.
Ah, I see.
You made it sound like it was a big secret last time you were on the pod, and then it's just on your website.
I don't know. I'm not allowed to mention anything about it.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fine. Fair enough.
I am. I can tell you all about Rainbow International.
Yeah, your boss was on the podcast last night.
I know. So.
Second episode we're recording in 2 days.
Wait, your boss was on an episode of Bacon and Eggs?
Yeah, I work for our childhood best friend.
Yeah.
Oh. So the Return of the Jedi movie.
So, John,
Right.
John, this is a question we've asked all our. Tell us a little bit about your Star Wars journey. Obviously, you told us this is the first Star Wars movie you remember watching. But from there, like, is it a big part of your life? Is it something you love? Obviously,
Is
I mean, you
Star
watch
Wars
it
a
every
big part?
Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah. Star Wars is like one of my favorite franchises, if not my favorite franchise. I love, like, Star Wars like dominated my childhood. I played the video games. I read all the comics. I read a bunch of the novels, and video games were more my thing. Like, the Jedi Knight series, Rogue Squadron, and the Battlefront games. I can't tell you how many hours I put into Battlefront 2.
I played Rogue Squadron last night.
Oh man, yeah, Rogue Squadron was amazing.
If I pull up Steam, I can tell you how much time I've logged in Battlefront 2 in like the past 3 months.
Is it the new one though?
No, the classic.
Oh,
Battlefront 2,
cool.
2005.
The new one's okay. The new one has a decent campaign mode actually that I got a kick out of. But I played it once and I just never really wanted to play it again. But
No replay value.
yeah, I'll play it again eventually. But yeah, you're right. It just doesn't have like the campaign is actually decent, but the modes and I don't know how I don't get how they can't crack the code of what made the original Battlefront games fun. It was a very simple formula, but they keep making it this other thing where it's just slack dash and free for all. And
Well, because they're playing to a different audience. They're trying to catch that Call of Duty crowd.
which is nonsense because
It's not going to happen. Yeah.
Call of Duty is a completely different experience that is already been filled as a niche. Like, we were bringing back what made Battlefront 2 fun. That's what I said.
Right. Well, what made Battlefront 2 fun is being used now by Fortnite.
Sure. I've never played Fortnite. My roommate plays it every day, and it's kind of like a thorn in my flesh because
It's not dissimilar to Battlefront.
I mean, it's a little bit. I mean, Battle Royale instead of endless lives until you kill 100 people.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that mechanic is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So that's my Star Wars journey, all the way to Fortnite.
Do you remember a time in your life where there was no Star Wars?
No, not really. I mean, like, I watched the first one when I was like forming memories, it was that kind of thing. Because like this was like early 90s, and I think at this point the Star Wars like VHS tapes were out, and like I said, my brother was a bit older than me. He would watch these movies all the time. I mean, they were just always playing. So like I can't even remember like being surprised by the like I'm your father thing. Like it just always has been that twist, right? Which that's kind of sucks, but
I mean, do you think you need the twist to enjoy Star Wars?
no, but I think it's a really cool experience that I feel bad because I missed out on it, but I've experienced other great twists in other movies.
Pretty much everybody we've talked to, because we've talked to a bunch of different guests about Star Wars now, because we've done 7 movies at this point. And everybody pretty much has the same story of like, no, I really don't remember a time before Star Wars, and then blank person introduced it to me when I was like a wee child.
Mm-hmm.
So, John, how will you introduce it to your children?
Have you ever seen the videos where like parents will like, they're like recording their kids watching Empire Strikes Back for the first time, and they find out like I'm your father, like that whole thing. Probably like that, like exploitatively.
Right. If you can make money off of it.
Yeah, ad revenue, got to make that cash. But no, I think, like I said, I watch these movies every Christmas, and if I have a son, if I have a daughter, I think, it's going to be a holiday tradition in my house. Like it already is a tradition, and I think it's something that, I don't know, there's something about Star Wars movies in December, And then one day, my kid, they're going to be like 14, 15, and then I'm going to say, here's a little something called Blue Harvest. What? Blue Harvest? What is it? Well, it's a little program called Family Guy, and we're going to watch Blue Harvest, something Dark Side, and it's trapped.
Do you like the Blue Harvest movies?
Yeah, I think they're hilarious.
I think they're good. Yeah, they make me laugh.
Yeah.
What are you guys talking about?
But the Family Guy Star Wars spinoffs?
Yeah,
What?
Family Guy made little mini movies that basically are just like jokey Star Wars. It's like their version of Spaceballs, but it's more direct. Like,
I did not know that.
they're hilarious.
You've never seen them?
No.
You're in for a treat, Ed.
I've never even heard of them.
Well, do you know where the name Blue Harvest comes from? Right. So,
No, I don't think I do.
oh, okay. So Blue Harvest is what they were calling Return of the Jedi, in order to avoid like paying too much where they filmed. So like they came up with the logo and stuff, and they called it like a horror movie. So like, because at this time Lucasfilm was becoming like an independent thing. George Lucas didn't want like union workers. He personally financed Return of the Jedi. They were doing everything they could to save money. That's why that budget is a lot lower than you'd probably expect. And part of that was they knew that if they went into these places, like they filmed in Arizona, for example, and the Redwoods National Parks for the Endor stuff. But when they filmed in Arizona, they were pretty sure that if they were like, hey, we're shooting Star Wars Return of the Jedi, people would come and snoop and like find different, they would try to like take pictures. And then also they were worried that people would charge them more money to use these locations because it's like, well, it's Star Wars, one of the most successful movies of all time. So
For
they called it Blue Harvest.
I just didn't call that. But that's crazy. I did not know that the thing. I mean, obviously I know about Spaceball. I love it. But that's crazy. I'll have to go watch that. It's exciting. I'm not the world's largest Family Guy fan. But
No, I'm not either, but I think you can, like, as long as you understand
Yeah.
characters, because it focuses, like, Chris plays Luke, so it's, Chris isn't a major character in Family Guy regular, so it's pretty well focused.
well, I mean,
on
those
that.
adult cartoon TV shows have always done pretty well with their like direct parodies.
Yeah.
Like South
Yeah.
Park has a bunch that are solid like that.
I think the Robot Chicken Star Wars episodes have always been really good. But honestly, what I love about Blue Harvest is that it's not just funny because they're making fun of Star Wars. There are legitimately good jokes in there. Like, to me, Blue Harvest represents like the end of like Family Guy being good. I think sometime after that they really started to go down Edge Hill, and yeah.
That was a stretch right there.
I'm a little upset. You ever looked at Seth MacFarlane though? Because I looked it up and it's just
It's a
big
handsome
picture.
man.
He is the world's most punchable face.
He's
Come
like
on.
he's like a normal looking, who's the dude from Jackass?
Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah, he's like a normal looking Johnny Knoxville.
I think Seth MacFarlane. Did you guys not watch his movie Million Ways to Die in the West?
I did.
No,
Yeah,
I heard it sucked.
Yeah, no.
It's not a good movie. He hosted
not
the
good.
Oscars too.
He looks
at one
like
point.
he looks like if Elon Musk was a character on Jersey Shore.
Wow, man, that's mean. Although I could see him play Elon Musk in like some kind of comedy parody.
Right, like they have a similar.
Yeah.
I just think he has the world's most punchable face. He is talented though. He's a talented writer, and the fact that when you watch him do those videos of him just doing all the voices back and forth and like having conversations with two people, it's impressive. I've never been the world's large Family Guy or any of those things. Not super crazy about The Simpsons or South Park.
So that's my Star Wars journey.
I feel like I came to Star Wars a little bit later than everybody. I'm not gonna lie to you
Sounds
guys.
like it.
When?
Sounds like you knew what was happening when Star Wars.
Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones to me.
Oh wow!
Like-
I've still never seen that.
Totally opposite of me.
Like,
Indiana
when
Jones was middle school.
Yeah, no. When I think Raiders of the Lost Ark might be like the first movie I have ever.
Would you say, like for me, Star Wars was my first favorite movie.
Oh, my first favorite movie was Jurassic Park.
Mine was The Mask of Zorro.
That's not a bad one.
That would have been crazy.
There was a time period in my life where I did nothing but watch Jurassic Park. Like where I came home from school and watched Jurassic Park every day.
Okay, I mean, you can say that and sound like, oh yeah, that's so. I had such a taste for sophisticated film, but like,
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it was my favorite movie. That's literally all
My
I'm saying
version-
about it. It's like I didn't know any better. I wanted to come home and watch my favorite movie every day.
yeah, I did that too. But my version of that was I came home and watched George Clooney's Batman and Robin
Ooh, yikes.
every day.
I watched that a bunch too on VHS.
I thought Poison Ivy was the prettiest woman.
If there's
in history.
if there's an early Batman movie that I'm an apologist of, it's Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen allowed to watch the first two.
I was barely born. I don't even think I was born.
I think of the prequels. I watched Revenge of the Sith the most because we didn't even own Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones. So like when I watched those movies, it would be like with friends or something like that. But I did own Revenge of the Sith, and it was a DVD. Like I bought it with my own money, and it was around that time, like while we were waiting for Revenge of the Sith to come out, I actually got I got the original trilogy for the first time too. I remember rewatching the original trilogy at like 15 and being just blown away. I was like, I forgot everything about this series. I was like, who is that character? And it was like Mon Mothma or something.
How did you get into film in general? Was it always something you were into, or was it like one day you were like, I'm gonna give this a try as a hobby? How did that happen?
Well, my mother is very much into film. So growing up, she would drag me into movie theaters to watch things. Like, she made me watch Deep Blue Sea in the theater. But I'll never forget, like, and she would take me to movies that I really wanted to see. Like, she took me to Phantom of the Opera. She took me to Mask of Zorro, which is one of my favorite movie going experiences ever. My first movie was The Lion King and then Toy Story. I mean, my mother was very much about, let's go to a theater, let's sit down and let's watch it. Like, that was part of my upbringing. And then when I was growing up and like in summers and stuff, I would have nothing to do. Like, I didn't go to camp. I didn't do like any sort of like things. Like, I guess I lived in a neighborhood, but like there weren't a lot of kids around. So I spent like most of my time at home watching movies, and I would watch just everything. I remember I watched like American History X when I was like 16 or something like that. Or not 16, I was like 13. But like I would just watch anything that was on. So
that's
like I started
to be watching American History X.
Yeah, I was way too young for it. But it was the TV version. So plus my mother had a lot of DVDs and a lot of VHS tapes. So I watched all kinds, like all her favorite stuff from like the 80s and 90s. I remember watching The Big Chill for the first time secretly. And yeah, I very much, that's how I formed my affinity for film. The hobby started when I was in college. We had an assignment to create a blog. I was a communications major, advertising and public relations. And one of the classes we took was like, you had to start like a blogger account. And I just, on a whim, I was like, oh, I'll write like a movie blog. So I started writing about movies on there for a while. And like eventually I started the JonNegroni.com, and like I just always was still talking about movies until finally like enough people were reading my reviews and stuff that like it became a thing.
That's awesome.
Fascinating.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and I worked in a movie theater, so like that was like my first job when I was 17.
Yeah,
How does that work? When you work there, do you get to see all the pre-screenings and watch all the movies all you want?
I couldn't do that until I was a manager. So when I was I started out as like an usher, just ripping tickets, but I could watch movies for free. And then eventually I worked my way up. I became a projectionist. And then, yeah, you can start to watch the movies beforehand. You have to like test them on Thursday nights. And yeah, like we would put together like trailers and stuff, and you would choose like which trailers would go with movies. And then eventually I became a manager, and then I became more involved in the planning and stuff like that.
Back the up. You got to pick the trailers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not really like that anymore because
I was
now,
gonna say.
like, well, because this was like right before digital equipment was becoming more common.
Right.
Nowadays, like, it's kind of picked for you, or they'll at least recommend things. Now, I will say that we would like supersede what was advised of us, like, depending on, like, we would choose which theaters, obviously, the movies would go in. We would project how big opening weekend was. That's how I started to get into box office speculation. I started getting work emails that were about, like, this is the movie we think that's going to be big. And I actually had to research films to have a good idea of what would be big and what wouldn't be, right? And that's a big part of it. So that's kind of what built up my, like, fascination with box office and speculation. And then picking the trailers was big too, because you had to have a good idea of what would get people to actually come back to your theater. And that's why they would give us a little bit of freedom and control over it, because it's our theater and we want people, like, you pick trailers that you think your community is going to like.
Interesting.
And we worked with real film. So, like, I would have to splice the trailers. Like, I had a little machine and I would put the films together using special tape. It was a whole process. It was so fun.
As long as we're talking about inappropriate Edward Norton movies, did you put dicks in between the movies?
No. We joked about it all the time. Fight Club was one of our most, like, joked about things at work.
It's gotta be. I mean, I can't imagine any other, like, anyway. I can't talk. I'm out of words.
Yeah, I feel like every new employee that walks through the door has got to be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do projection. Have you guys seen Fight Club? And then that happens every single time.
Oh yeah. It's often brought up.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Right. So that doesn't still happen though. Like, now movies just come with a bunch of trailers.
It's basically all digital too. But you can, that's the thing. They have these hard drives that you install into the projector, but, like, the trailers come in different hard drives. So you can put in whatever you want. I don't know if it's changed in the last 6 years, because it's been 6 years since I had that job, but yeah.
It seems like they're at that point with movies and movie theaters right now where we're getting that ridiculous development phase where they're just trying to do something new every 6 months.
How do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, because I have a movie theater near me, the one I go to, is now a Cinemark theater, but was a Paragon theater. And they're just constantly trying to like advertise the different technologies that the theater employs. Like I have a poster for Ready Player One that was given to me as a door prize, not door prize, but like I don't know, whatever you call it, a swag gift for seeing Ready Player One opening day on a Wednesday. And it says at the bottom in like big letters, it's like, see it in Cinemark XD.
Yeah, that's been going on since like, Return of the Jedi. I remember when reading about how when Return of the Jedi came out, it was advertised that it was like Dolby Stereo. It was like the first, I'm pretty sure it was the first movie that used THX. I think, theater technologies, that there's a rich history of the studio's marketing that
But I
stuff.
guess, I don't know, I feel like it's just gotten different recently, because like this particular theater I'm talking about has like a different selling point for each theater within the because there's 12 theaters there, and it's like this one has Dolby Atmos, and this one has Super 3D, and this one's an Extreme D, and this one's XD.
Yeah, especially in the Bay Area, we have all kinds of crazy theaters, like the 4D theaters, and you have like theaters that are more like bars and restaurants, and
those are fantastic.
It's all over the place.
That's my
favorite. My favorite theater in the Bay Area is the Alamo Drafthouse.
Yeah. Do they have like waiters and stuff that come to your seats while you're watching the movie?
You sit down and you have like a little tray table, and you write on a piece of paper. There's a little light under your little table, and you can write down whatever you want. If you want napkins, if you want water, if you want coffee, food, drinks, anything. The waiters like run under the seats and they grab the paper and they come back with your stuff, and then they bring your check like 40 minutes before the movie ends.
That's never distracting during a movie?
No, not for me.
No.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's just like it adds so much to the experience of just, it's so much more relaxing. Like you're there in like a big leather recliner and just hanging out. It's like you
that's interesting. I do appreciate going to those newer nice theaters with the like pick your seat and the leather recliners and the tray table and the you bring beer in and everything. I like that. I'm a big fan of that. But we also have a 100-year-old theater that I go to. That's my go-to theater, and I love that as well. Tickets are super cheap. The popcorn's like $2. And
don't get me wrong. I love there are two theaters like that I love in San Francisco, the Castro and the Victoria. Yeah, totally. Like the Castro is amazing. You go in and it's this big auditorium, and there's a guy who plays on an organ before every movie, and it's amazing. So cool. it's a beautiful like 19th century style theater. And it's so, like, the experience is amazing. That's where we've been watching a lot of San Francisco Film Festival movies there, and the Victoria, the Roxy, and a few others.
And that's the thing, is it's got to be either super, super, super retro or the newest thing possible. It's like, there's no reason to be like, well, this is what movie theaters were like in the 90s.
But you know what my least favorite theater brand is? AMC.
AMC.
Oh my gosh, 100%. I knew it.
Yeah, because they're the worst. Like, I love Century and Cinemark. If I'm going to go, like, if I have a choice, I'll go to one of those. I'll go to a CineArts if I can. But AMC... it's not great.
Do they not have Regal out there?
No, the closest Regal is in the East Bay, and so it's pretty far from where I'm at.
Regal's a fucking shit box, bro.
We had a really good Regal in Lynchburg.
I don't know how Regal's still in business.
Well, there's a Regal. I've been to the Regal in Roanoke. That's where I saw Watchmen. I know that's where you guys are.
I saw Watchmen in an old church basement.
The Regal in Roanoke is where I've seen most of my throughout. The one on Valley View Boulevard.
Yeah, that's where I see most of the blockbusters. They don't have it granted.
It's the only Regal that doesn't look like a Regal. I don't know if you know what. I don't know what Regals look like off the top of your head, but they're like these super old looking marquee type thing. Big neon. Well, I'm kind of saying it for viewer listeners too. But like big neon and stuff, and it's cool. Like they look cool from the outside. And the Regal in Roanoke, I think, was something else previously before it was Regal, and it doesn't look like a Regal.
I'm really lucky because there's a theater chain closer to where I live. Even though the Draft House is my favorite theater, we have something called Cinelux, which is like the best movie theater for like, it's like a neighborhood theater. Like you go in and Pepsi products, first of all, and it's like
that's
everything.
So weird.
Criminal.
Yeah, it's like it's never too crowded, and when you go in, like the trailers only last for 8 minutes, not 25 like at the AMC 8.
Oh, what I love about Paragon is it has, or not Paragon, about Cinemark, it's now Cinemark, is it just has a big screen that tells you when the trailers are going to end.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, there's a bar.
Yeah, there's like a bar in the lobby, and you can just chill out, and it'll be like, movie starting now, trailers end in this much time.
Oh, and I'm guessing you have reserved seats?
Yeah, you have reserved.
Perfect, yeah. Because otherwise, I'd be like...
There's only one theater where I live that's not reserved seating, and it's the Regal.
There's a few out here that still don't have reserved. Like, the Cineluxes obviously don't. You don't need it. But, like, yeah, the AMCs don't have it yet. but
The
actually
AMC
one of the Cinelexes does have it. Sorry.
The AMC
If I
out
want
here
reserved
does.
seats, I have to go a half hour away, which I guess in San Francisco is probably like half a block, but in Roanoke is 20 miles. And to the Cinebowl in Blacksburg.
Draft House is cool because you don't even need, like, if you buy your ticket on your phone or through their app, you don't even, like, you reserve your seat, obviously, and they take MoviePass, but you can use MoviePass or whatever, and you just go to your seat, and then they come up, like, there's no usher, there's nobody ripping your ticket, the waiter comes up and is like, may I see your ticket? And that's it. And you just show them your phone.
That's so cool.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
And there's a bar attached to the theater.
Like in the room while the movie's playing?
No, it's like in the same building, but it's like a legit bar. Like,
that's how Ethan's theater is.
All of them are like that out here except the Regal.
Yeah, I've seen a couple like that in Florida, where it's like a little like mini restaurant, or it's like a full restaurant. And the Draft House doesn't play like trailers really. Like for example, we saw Isle of Dogs. They played, they just played like special videos of like Wes Anderson's filmography.
Oh man, I want to see Isle of Dogs so bad.
It's pretty good.
What's stopping you, Joe?
It's only playing at the AMC.
Oh man, yeah, that would get in my way too.
Yeah.
AMC all the way over in Hampton by the Iceplex?
Yeah, no. Regal's by the Iceplex. Hampton is in Hampton.
Oh, yeah.
But no, like the AMC.
I'm thinking Yorktown.
AMC, by the way, when I moved out here, was the biggest movie theater I'd ever been to, seeing as the Regal in Roanoke was previously the biggest movie theater I'd ever been to, and it was 16 theaters, and the AMC out here is 24. And I was just like, what? How do you put
Seems
that
a little
many
much.
theaters in a building together? And then they got IMAX, and I was like, I can just go see an IMAX movie. I haven't. Plot twist.
Oh, you should.
Since I've been living out here, I haven't just gone and seen an IMAX.
It elevates.
They're like $25.
Yeah, that's way too much. They should be like 17.
It's AMC, man. They are the worst. A regular movie ticket to the AMC is $13 for like a 2D movie.
I saw Blade Runner 2049 in IMAX. There's no other way to say it.
I bet that was incredible.
Oh my god. Oh, it was one of my favorite movie experiences of 2017 for sure.
So I was going to just buy that on my iPad. You're saying don't do that.
Well, I mean, I don't know what your TV setup is at home.
I mean, I was just going to watch it on my
It's
iPad.
not an IMAX.
Speaking of which, I did rewatch Return of the Jedi for the first time because I've gotten a 4K HDR TV since I last watched the trilogy over the holidays, and I have to say, like, my 4K HDR TV is great, and like I have a 4K HDR version of Return of the Jedi, and it just did not look very good, like compared to especially the
Old
first Star
movies
Wars.
do not look good.
Some of them do. I've watched some 4K like classic movies through like Filmstruck and Netflix that have looked amazing. Like if you watch Kurosawa films, I just watched Rashomon, which has a lot of fun little references in Last Jedi. But that movie in 4K is beautiful. It's like it's gorgeous.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been a long time since I've seen a Kurosawa. A long time.
Filmstruck. That's the way to do it, man.
What is Filmstruck?
Filmstruck is Netflix for classic movies. It has the Turner Classic Films and it has Criterion Channel.
I did not know about
That's
this.
cool.
I'm obsessed.
I learned so much whenever you're on pod.
I try to make use of my time here.
You taught me what retcon meant.
Yeah,
No,
Filmstruck
I saw
is
Seven Samurai not that long. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last time I saw Seven Samurai was 2 years ago.
I had to remind myself what exactly. And this is going way over time.
Yeah, no, you're on a whole other planet right
Yeah,
now.
the oldest movie he's ever seen, Monty Python.
Oh man, I'm in
That
the
might
tank
be
for
true.
older films, but
I also I was raised on older films. I came from a Turner Classic Movie house.
Amazing.
Like my parents were very controlling as to what I watched when and it's not in like a good way. It's like I watched way too many, and that's I guess why I bear no particular love for like the Disney movies or the the ones that came out while I was a kid, because I never really watched them. My parents were busy showing me R-rated movies I shouldn't have watched.
Yeah, like my family, we watched a lot of older films, but for whatever reason, we did not watch a lot of 70s films. 70s is my gap era.
Same.
Like
I
I didn't
think
watch.
my parents-
There were a
I think
lot
my
of
parents
Francis
were
Ford
convinced.
Coppola movies I didn't see until like the last 10 years.
Well, I mean, the thing is there's so many great movies made in the history of America. Like, unless you watch a couple every day, you're never gonna catch up.
No.
Yeah, we recently in our little like bacon and eggs community kind of had to sit down and be like, okay, there's a bunch of people here and they all have jobs and they all do things and most of them are pretty young. So we're just gonna not shame people for not having seen whatever classic movie you think everybody should have seen.
I think people should always be like that. Don't shame people for not watching things. Encourage them and persuade them why they should
tell them
spend
why you
their
love it.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I've adopted the phrase "you're in for a treat."
Yeah, the only person I shame is Ty.
Which is
I-
worth it, I bet.
I do a quote unquote movie review podcast and quote
You've
unquote
never
am an
seen
authority on
Indiana
these things.
Jones.
Yeah.
Like,
I was waiting for this. Like at first, when we started the pod, I was like, I should probably watch Indiana Jones. But then you were like, we're gonna do Indiana Jones at some point. So now I'm not gonna like spoil it. I'm just gonna wait until we do it.
I really want to do Indiana.
The
Like I
only-
said,
You really do?
I
Indiana
love
Jones
those
would be
movies.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Are you pro Indiana Jones, Ethan, or anti?
Pro.
Well, then why aren't we doing it? So we've
We're doing Star Wars.
right, but after Star
this
Wars,
is just how
we've
the
got
sausage is made, isn't it?
Yeah, this sounds. We're actively in the middle of a Star Wars review podcast.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going over the minutiae of different theaters.
Well, this is why we have guests on here, though. It's a little bit of movie review, and it's a little bit of we're going to learn about Jon Negroni for a second.
There's plenty more where that came from. I don't shame people for not watching like silent films, but I do shame people who call themselves film critics who don't have an appreciation for silent films or didn't learn about them. Like, I don't expect everybody to see every movie, and there are plenty of silent films. Like, I don't remember a lot of the silent films, but like, I do have favorites from that era.
Yeah, there's
and
a
like,
lot
if
that'll
you don't
make them
understand, like, if you don't understand where movies came from, I don't think you should be somebody who, like, for a living spends, like, your time, like, reviewing films. Like, I don't know. That's, like, where I'm at.
Oh, I hear that. I don't know that I could name a favorite silent film, but I've studied, like, the history of film, and I know where it all comes from. But
I think that's
something
really
that
important,
I think, I think that's like an area that I think I could improve in. But
well, it's like like I said, I grew up in a TCM household. Like, I've seen a bunch, like Buster Keaton.
Yeah.
Like, I know off the top of my head who Buster Keaton.
I think most people
he's a dude
should.
that did his own stunts and shouldn't have, right?
Yeah, probably. He lived a nice long life though for somebody who did that shit.
He did some like wild. He was the one that did the thing on front of the train through the railroad tie down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was awesome. Wicked.
And you got Chaplin.
Yeah, I always was more of a Marx Brothers fan myself.
Oh, absolutely.
But I do love Chaplin's movies.
I mean, but what do you guys think of Return of the Jedi?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Let's try to get a little bit back on topic.
I feel like I haven't heard a lot of what Ethan thinks of the movie yet.
Yeah.
That's the thing is I really don't know what I think of this movie. I've been back and forth the whole time we've been talking about it, and it's like, you guys have made positive and negative points, and for some reason I can't land anywhere on it. It's like, one of you guys will say like, oh, well, it was bad for this reason. I'm like, yeah! And then the other guy will be like, well, it's great for this reason. I'm like, yeah!
Here's what I think. Go ahead. You finish if you have another point.
No, it's just there are issues with it. Like, there are issues that people have told me about more than ones I view for myself. It's like, I find it hard to find a flaw. It's like, I didn't really dislike it any more than either of the other ones in this trilogy. Maybe you don't really like the Ewoks. I didn't think they were unforgivable. It gave us a lot of Han Solo, which is really great. It gave us a lot of. I honestly think there was too much Jabba the Hutt. Even today freaks me out.
I love his character.
He's a weird thing.
He makes me so uncomfortable.
I think I'm gonna like address the elephant in the room here. I feel like earlier this week I was in a Facebook thread where somebody was like, I don't know how to feel about this new Solo trailer, and I commented it, and I was like, oh, you feel betrayed and you're unhappy about it, but you don't want to say it because it's Star Wars. And I think the opposite is happening right now in this conversation with Return of the Jedi. We all came into it and we were kind of like supposed to say it's not good. We're like, we need to defend, but I think we're all kind of on the same page that it is good, but we need to convince the others that it's good. But I think we all like have an unspoken agreement.
We don't need to defend it. Like, it is a Star Wars movie. It's never going. Like,
yeah,
Star
and I don't
Wars...
think people hate it. I think people just don't like it as much as the first two, which I get.
Yeah, no, I totally get
Star
that.
Wars
it's
is
different.
For sure
it's not the same.
juggernaut in the.
But I want to say it. In my opinion, it has the best lightsaber fight in any of the movies.
Have you seen The Force Awakens?
Yeah.
Okay, then
I just don't think the lightsaber fight in Force Awakens is anywhere near as tense and satisfying as
it is.
Luke
Super
versus
satisfying.
Vader. I don't think so, because I think Rey is still a blank slate, so I just don't see, like, there's no thematic arc to that fight. They're two characters who don't know each other very well. I don't know. It to me doesn't have the same weight of Luke when the moment when Vader says that he's going to turn his sister to the dark side, when he turns on him like that, is one of the most brilliant moments in all.
Oh, I agree. The ending part of this,
I
where
totally agree.
Where Luke gets that temptation and he gets that thing stuck in his face. If you can just join the dark side, like, you can do what I did and just join the dark side, join me, be my son, whatever. Let's do it. And he's just like, no. And then Vader turns around and is like, well, you're not gonna kill my boy.
It's so Shakespeare.
Right. Yeah.
And I think, I mean, speaking of Shakespeare, John, can you give me some poetry? One of those Jon Negroni slam poems you're so famous for, of like Luke's obviously, like, I think the way they do lightsaber battles is so interesting throughout the trilogy, and that, like, in the prequel trilogy, they're all using lightsabers all the time, and therefore really good at using them, and they, and there's all this sort of show to it, where they're like twirling them, and it's really well played out, and they're really skilled at it. And then in this trilogy, they don't use lightsabers as much, so they're all kind of clunky, and they're supposed to be like heavy. And then in the new trilogy, they don't know what they're doing at all with the lightsabers, and Kylo Ren was shot by a Wookiee, so they're like just kind of swinging them all randomly the way they think that a sword would be swung. But one of like the most obvious things about this battle that like raises a question mark in my mind, and I think there is a good reason behind it, but I don't have the vocabulary for it, is when Luke is just thrashing Vader's lightsaber instead of hitting Vader. What is the reason?
It was never about the lightsaber. It was always about the person. But in that moment where Luke is channeling his rage, he's not jumping and twirling. He's not going from rock to rock. He doesn't have the high ground. He is taking everything that is in himself, his new lightsaber, and he is focusing it all on destroying the symbol that is Darth Vader's hate, his hand. He doesn't just attack the lightsaber. He does what his father did to him. There is a reason he tosses the lightsaber a moment later. It was never about the lightsaber. The lightsaber doesn't matter. The fight and how the lightsabers move doesn't matter. The things that Yoda taught him, the jumping, doesn't matter. What matters is the battle within. What does the battle mean? And what does it mean to overcome someone with your will? Obi-Wan could have defeated Darth Vader in A New Hope. There's a reason he didn't, because he knew it would not save the galaxy. He knew that he was not the last hope. Luke was. It comes full circle, or should I say full Death Star, and that is why it's the best lightsaber scene. It doesn't end with a revelation. It ends, period.
That was fucking beautiful.
Improv.
It was improv. Yeah, that was, I mean, did you open mic that?
I mean, the mic is on, hopefully.
I like that. I like what you're saying there. I also feel like while watching this movie, and I'm about to just ruin everything. I mean, I'm super happy with everything you said, but I'm about to make a comparison. Not nearly.
Go for it.
He cuts the hand off. He sees the hand is cut. He looks at his hand. You can hear the like little noise of him being like, I've got a robot hand too. And it was like, to me, in that moment, I was like, you know what? Batman vs Superman wasn't that bad.
Jesus.
This is just the Martha thing.
What do you think he realizes in that moment?
They've got the same mom, you know? His mom's got the same name.
Well, okay. In an essence, yes, actually. He's realizing that he doesn't want to become like his dad.
Yeah, that he's on that path.
Exactly.
And that if he strikes him down, the Emperor is just going to turn to him because he will have given into it.
Yeah, and then the Emperor will be proven right. He needs to score political points.
Yeah.
Right. It's no different than when Anakin throws Mace Windu out the window.
Yeah. It's like, well, crap. Now I've done.
Except Luke doesn't do that. Like, he doesn't join.
Exactly. That's why the Emperor, who after 6 movies we've all decided is the greatest villain of all time, best.
No, Darth Vader is.
No, he's just not. He's like the hand of the king, man. Just
what? No, Darth Vader is. He's the best villain.
No.
He does the Emperor's bidding, but I mean, just because he's not the number one in charge.
I guess I need to hear an argument for Darth Vader being the best villain, because to me it's just like...
He's menacing, his powers are cool, he has a very good character arc, he has a tragic backstory. He's great.
He gets redemption.
He's iconic.
His actor changed like 5 times.
Not the voice, though.
Well, the voice is 2 different people, 3 different people.
It's just, well, I mean, when the mask is on, the logic makes sense. It's
Yeah. I don't know. I love the Emperor, and I think because of that, like Luke not striking Darth Vader down in that moment, in that Martha moment, is why Luke is one of the best heroes. And I'm going to say that. I'll put that out.
Just as a brief aside, if the sequel trilogy follows the same kind of arc that the original trilogy gave us, we are in for one hell of a confrontation between Rey and Kylo.
Well, what I like about that is that Kylo is basically Luke if Luke had turned to the dark side. And there's a version of Return of the Jedi. They didn't shoot it, but they had an idea. They were going to make it so that Luke turns to the dark side at the end of Return of the Jedi, and it would have kept going. And I think in the script, he literally, he takes off Vader's helmet, and then Vader dies, and then he puts on Vader's helmet and says, "Now I have the power." And he has the same voice, but they didn't do it.
That would have been wild, because that would have played up the Leia, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the point.
Right, exactly.
Is that Luke was the only hope. Oh, wait, no, he's not.
Because he even says the things that he learned how to do, she could learn too. So they might have been thinking she could be a Jedi herself, but no, she just becomes a force sensitive, badass.
Right, floats through space.
Yeah, Mary Poppins.
She can float through space just like K2SO.
Does he float through space?
No, but he says he could survive in the vacuum of space if the ship blows up.
You know who could survive in the vacuum of space is that giant asteroid worm from Empire.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, also Vegeta.
Vegeta can survive in the vacuum of space.
Yeah. Which I always wondered, why can't Goku?
Goku could definitely beat Darth Vader.
What?
I said Goku could definitely beat Darth Vader.
Yeah, he could. But wait, hold on. Let's not. Whoa.
That's a bold statement.
Goku's tail has nothing to do with this. Vegeta is able to breathe in space even when he doesn't have a tail.
Listen, man, my Dragon Ball Z knowledge not going to be on your level.
Okay, well,
but I will say, after listening to Cinemaholics, I am sold on buying the new Dragon Ball. It sounds like a ton.
Did you watch all of it?
I listened to the whole set that y'all talked about.
We talked about Dragon Ball? Wait.
The new Dragon Ball Z game?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I'm mixing things up. I meant, have you seen all of Dragon Ball Z, the show?
Oh, no, I have not.
Oh, okay.
Me either.
What?
I do own Season 1 on DVD.
Man, you guys are missing out.
I learned that if you watch Dragon Ball Z at 2 times times speed, it just makes so much more sense, and the anime is way smoother, and it's better, and you get through it so much faster.
I will say I read the manga about 10 years ago, and yeah, it's so much better as like a way to catch up. Like the anime was great when it was coming out week to week, but when I read the manga, it was great because I could, go through it, and like it wasn't 5 minutes over the course of like 10 episodes.
Right.
But I brought that up because I've been watching Dragon Ball Super. I'm almost caught up on that. And like there's this tournament, and I swear it's 40 episodes long, and the entire tournament is 48 minutes. And like at the end of every episode, they're like, there are 47 minutes remaining. Like we just went through 24 minutes of fighting. It's insane.
It's kind of how I feel like watching 24.
Well, at least 24 is organized with that stuff.
I mean, I agree with that, but it's like, Jesus Christ, move faster.
Yeah. Return of the Jedi is kind of long, but I've heard people say that the first act should be cut down, and that I know some people think that like parts of it are too long, but I totally disagree. I think it's perfect length.
I don't get how it's long. Like all of the movies that are made in this sort of vein these days are like 2.5 hours long easily.
Yeah, this didn't feel long.
Yeah,
so I think 132 minutes.
Yeah.
That's with credit.
But like, I guess I'm thinking of like people who say that like the Jabba the Hutt thing especially takes way too long to happen. But I love that entire sequence. I know you guys don't like Jabba the character. I think he's a great villain. I think he's menacing and gross. And, I think it's a great payoff to like him just being mentioned.
Villain. Don't get me wrong. I'm not.
He just makes you uncomfortable.
He just makes me like physically uncomfortable. It's like I don't enjoy watching Jabba.
All right, I get that.
I don't really have thoughts on Jabba. I could take it or leave it.
But
If I had
stupid character.
If there was any part of the movie that I do think isn't as strong, I hate to say it, but the only thing about Lando's like fleet taking on the Death Star that's at all interesting to me is the spectacle of it. The fact that they had so many effects and so many things happening on screen. But other than that, it's kind of like they keep cutting to it back to back, and you don't know most of the characters. You just know Lando. And every time they pop over back to the fleet, I'm just like, can we stick to the main characters over here? Because like Lando's not necessarily doing anything that's like, I don't know. I don't know if you guys agree at all. As much as I love Lando, actually, I just don't think he gets a lot to do in that stuff.
Yeah, I think we definitely get like sort of rose-colored glasses about it, where we're all like huge Star Wars fans, and so like, you've seen it so many times, and you've got all the toys, and you're so familiar with all the characters that like you forget that if you were watching this for the first time, you'd be like, who the crap is Admiral Akbar? Why on earth is he on screen so much here at the end?
I don't even remember the name of Lando's co-pilot.
No, me neither.
It's like it starts with an N or something.
I don't know. I know that there's an A-wing flies through a Star Destroyer and blows it up, and I thought that was pretty nice little nod to Last Jedi.
The Holdo maneuver, the hotly contested.
I don't want to talk about that. I don't.
Oh no, are you one of the anti-Holdos?
No, I have no problem with Holdo. I liked her. I love Laura Dern. I think she could have easily stuck around for the next movie, and they could have just killed Leia.
Yeah, but I think they had already filmed all that stuff by the time Carrie Fisher passed away.
Just refilm
They
it.
did. They can't refilm it with Carrie Fisher.
No. Yeah, and also I don't think they were willing to kill off Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher's characters in the same movie. That would have been really dramatic.
Luke didn't have to die.
Luke also can come back as a Force and totally will.
Well, that'd be cool if he did. Sure. I haven't really considered
that,
I
guess. So is this your favorite Star Wars movie, John?
Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
For a while, it actually was. I'll admit it. When I revisited...
This is a safe place. You can say that.
Yeah. When I revisited the trilogy in high school, I do remember... I rewatched all three for a couple times, and I always considered Return my favorite because, like we said before, it just combines everything that I like. It has some of my favorite lines of dialogue. It has some of my favorite jokes. It has my favorite lightsaber scene. The only thing is it doesn't have my favorite set pieces necessarily. Like, I don't think the Battle of Endor or the Tatooine Rescue are as good as the Hoth battle scene or I would say the trench run. So it's hard for me because how do you judge it, you know?
I actually agree with that as well. I think Endor was a little weak and maybe it's just because it was like literally shot in the Redwood Forest in California, and I am like an American and I know what that looks like, but it just looks like the Redwood Forest in California.
Sure.
Like Hoth looked.
I don't know. I feel like
Hoth looked like a different planet.
I do love that they stuck the land. I think Return of the Jedi ends perfectly with the Darth Vader, funeral, but then also the celebration. We cut to all these planets and it's this big party. But when we go to the small, intimate rebel gathering on Endor, that felt so right. Like there was just no other way to do it, I think.
I would agree with that.
But if I could make a change, what do you guys think of this? I wish that it had been, I wish that the second Death Star had itself been a surprise. Like, I wish that they didn't know that there was another Death Star. That I wish that they had been planning to just assassinate the Emperor and they were going to go to his ship, but then they find out his ship is another Death Star. And
here's the problem though, is like Rogue One is about getting the plans for Death Star 1, and Death Star 2 has a difference. Like, many Bothans died bringing us this information.
Yeah, that stuff, it felt too much like the first one, exactly.
I mean, yeah, I'll give you that. But
I agree, it was kind of like a cheap redo. Hey, we got Death Star 2. It's bigger, it shares the same problems, but it's bigger.
John,
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
This might be it's going to be a difficult question for you to ask or to answer. But I'm just curious. What would you say your all-time favorite movie is?
The Mask of Zorro.
Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
And then, it's my favorite movie ever. The Apartment is number 2.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love that movie.
That's an eclectic chase there.
I tried. I know it is a bit of a jump. After that is Goodfellas, and after that is I think I would say Breakfast at Tiffany's. But sometimes it ranges between that and Jurassic Park and Passion of Joan of Arc and just a couple other things.
Man, I tried so hard to get my girlfriend to watch Goodfellas this weekend. She just wouldn't bite.
Oh, keep trying. That's a great one.
It's tough.
You could introduce her to Mean Streets, get her started.
Yeah, I could try that. That's a good call. I do love Goodfellas.
Honestly,
It's tough to pick a top 5 because it's like, I love all these movies so much. Why do I have to do this?
it's fun and it
You have
tells
fun with
people
it?
more about you.
Is that what you're saying? Do you think you identify with Mask of Zorro?
Yeah, for sure. But part of the reason it's my favorite movie is because I identify so much as a Hispanic American with the Zorro story. I love how archetypal it is. I love how it is a combination of old school Hollywood and new Hollywood. It's one of the last great movies that has really good practical effects and a romantic hero story. It's really technically a folklore. He's a folk hero more so, but that to me is how rich the Zorro character is, and the fact that it's rooted in Hispanic culture
these days.
is what?
The folk hero.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to find, but the way that they handle that story is such a perfect continuation of one of the best film characters, which is Zorro in my opinion. So yeah.
Have you gone and watched
Anthony
all
Hopkins.
of the Zorro movies?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I'm sure there are a few I haven't seen from the first eras, and it's been a while since I've seen a lot. I've been really hoping, they always talk about doing a gritty Dark Knight-esque Zorro movie. You have no idea how I want that so bad. I just think if Hollywood, a Coen Brothers Zorro movie is probably kind of weird, but maybe Gore Verbinski doing a Zorro film, I think would just be amazing.
Oh, that would be awesome. I mean, I would get down with the Coen Brothers, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it would be really serious, but that's why I think it would be cool.
I'm under the impression that the Coen Brothers can do no wrong.
I liked Hail Caesar a lot. I know people dislike that one.
Yo,
I love Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar was an experience, and
I have a friend. She vehemently hates that movie, and we argue about it all the time.
Well, yeah, because I can see why someone would hate it. It's obvious why.
Actually, I want to have you back on the podcast in the future to talk about Hail. I've decided that now.
Oh, thank goodness! Finally, I've been waiting.
I feel like that would be such a useful conversation for my life.
There are so many things about that movie. I'd love to revisit it, and there's so many things about it that strike me as so deeply smart that easily go over your head. But yeah. It's such a great film to analyze.
Definitely a movie I watch and I'm like, I don't get it as much as I'm supposed to.
But that's Coen.
I think there's part of it.
Sure. Okay, well let's do a little wrap up here.
Yeah, let's do that.
Did we miss anything? Any final thoughts on the movie? Anybody got any burning desires they need to talk about not the Last Jedi, Return of the Jedi?
I think here's the problem with the last thoughts is we spent about an hour of our 2-hour time block talking about Return of the Jedi, and I think I could talk about Return of the Jedi for about 10 hours before I got really tired of it, right? But I don't think I have anything else to add that I don't want to discuss with somebody who has a question with my thoughts. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure.
I think I've put enough out there that the remainder of the discussion I will have with people will be follow up on this as well, I imagine.
Fair enough.
So let's talk villains. I think Vader is our clear. Well, I guess we can come back to the Emperor. Who's the big bad in this?
The antagonist
Vader?
is the Emperor and Vader.
The Emperor.
But you could make an argument that the main character is Luke and the protagonist is Vader and the antagonist is the Emperor. There are a lot of ways you can interpret.
Okay, so we'll just say Palpatine and Vader as a team. I think they rank pretty high. I'll give them an 8 out of 10 on the villain ranking. Maybe higher. I'm willing to go higher.
I like Vader better in Empire than I did in this movie, but just barely.
Really, because there's scenes with Darth Vader in this one that when Luke is taken away from him when they first meet, and he goes over to the railing and you see the conflict and there's no expression on his face, but you see it at the same time. Those are some great Vader moments.
He's an underrated character.
What?
Vader?
Yeah.
What?
No. People love Vader.
Vader is
He's not
underrated.
He's about as rated as he can get. He's
Yeah, people love him the right
a
amount.
lot of people's benchmark for movie villains.
I think Tyler's saying he's overrated.
No, I'm willing to go higher. I mean,
Oh, sorry then.
I don't get, like, to me, Vader isn't scary.
I don't think he's supposed to be
People always
scary.
like,
I think he's supposed to be menacing and intimidating.
I just don't get that costume. Silly. Those buttons on his chest, they look like a 12. Do kids still trick or treat at 12? We'll go with an 8 trick or treating costume.
I think it sticks with you though if you watch it as a kid. I guess if I watched it as an adult, I would be like, "What? That's the villain." But as a kid, I think it works. And it carries over into your adult, or it should at least.
Yeah, I mean, there's few
that.
things that conjure up a vision of evil better than a Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll go with a 9.5. How do you let that score?
Good.
Pretty strong.
Pretty strong.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where does this rank on Star Wars out of the ones that we've reviewed, which are everything but The Force Awakens?
It's better than. I don't want to be the one that has to say it, but I want somebody else to say
Say
it.
what?
I've already gone over this. I think it's hard because all three of the movies fit into one larger picture, and I sometimes look at Return of the Jedi as just a stronger movie in a lot of ways, but a weaker movie in others.
This is like there is a spot that it belongs, but I can't say it.
I mean,
Somebody else
I'll
has
say
got to
it.
say it.
I think it goes between. So right now we've got Phantom Menace, Rogue One, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, The Last Jedi, A New Hope, Empire. For me, it goes in between Revenge of the Sith and The Last Jedi.
That's nonsense.
That is not.
I would say that
That is not
it's
what I thought you were gonna say.
I would say all three of the original trilogy are on the same level. I'm just going to be that guy. I think all three of those movies have great things about them and flaws about them. The first one, you can't say it's worse than the other two. It's so iconic and it's so effective. The second one perfected, I think, sci-fi. The third one, I think, just combines everything that's good about the first two and just does it a little bit better in some ways. I just think they're all in the same field. Like, I don't see how you can separate Return of the Jedi and put it over here with, like, Revenge. I would say Last Jedi.
I'm not putting
is
it over
way
there.
better than
I'm
Revenge.
saying I like The Last Jedi better than this.
Yeah, I definitely am not on that train.
No, I think this goes above the last. What I was thinking that I couldn't say was that it goes above it. But then John was like, no, it's so iconic it can't. And I agree. You got to add that iconic factor.
Right. And I think the second one, I don't think has all of the spectacle that the third one has. And I don't think the lightsaber battle is as great. It's good. But everything we remember about Empire, I just think there are sloppy things about it. Like the way that he escapes is really weird. And I think it makes no sense that his training with Yoda is like implied to be a long period of time, but like Han is still like on the Millennium Falcon and then makes it to Bespin. Like it's just,
Yeah,
it's
we were
weird.
talking about that last night. That is a little bit incongruous.
It happens in Last Jedi too, but at least in that one, the point is that she's not being trained. So like, you get it.
Well, and Last Jedi gives no particular start date for Rey being.
Yeah, I guess, but I'm pretty sure when she bridges communication with Kylo, it's implied that like he's on the ship, like he's in the middle of this other plot going on with the Resistance.
I could see that. I don't know. That one's tricky. It's a little. Those are both a little bit incongruous.
You'll get to your Last Jedi.
Well, here's what I think. I think back to the rating is that Empire is the greatest movie of all time because yeah, there are some sloppy things about it, but every character has an interesting arc, including extremely like what would have been a minor character like Lando has an interesting arc and is like
That's true.
You know, like I think you gotta elevate Lando's point in there, and it's like when you realize that the Empire showed up was like the next people that land here we've got to take, and Lando was like, okay, that seems fair, just don't take over my plan, and then the next people that landed was Han Solo, and he was like, you rat bastard, you turn around and get out of here right now. And then, you know, he's like, well, no, if I do that, you're gonna kill me. That's bad. I can't do that. So then he has to turn over his best friend, and then he does the whole thing. Like, to me, that whole story arc, in addition to the greatness that is Empire Strikes Back, raises the whole thing to be clearly the number one choice.
That's a strong argument. It's good.
I just really liked
then-
The Last Jedi, man. I really enjoyed that movie, I think, more than most people. But I will
No, I loved
I will
Last
I'm gonna
make-
rewatch it.
I will make your
And,
concession here. I will give you that it's better than Last Jedi. I don't know if I could put it above a new.
Well, we are reviewing Last Jedi, right?
Yeah, I
That's
guess.
I guess we don't have to.
If you think you can handle it.
I just wasn't there.
I
the
know,
first
but it's just like there's so many great movies out there. This is the thing I've been like stuck with the whole time. I don't know. We'll talk about it. We'll make some songs.
Yeah.
But I'll give you that. We could put it above Last Jedi, but I don't think I could make it better.
Okay, I'm down with that.
Okay.
So on our big board,
I think it sits right next to A New Hope.
do you think it's better than you, Tyler Carlin,
No, it's not better than Back to the Future.
think it's better than Back to the Future?
Nope. I think like with every passing day, Back to the Future becomes more and more my favorite.
Wow. I think it's the opposite for me. I feel like I don't watch that movie anymore because I get worried. It's like, I don't want to hate this movie, so I probably shouldn't watch it again.
No matter how many times you
I
watch
don't
A
think
New
you will.
Hope, you can't hate.
Oh, absolutely. New Hope. The Star Wars movies, I always like them more every time I watch
See,
them.
this is why I'm prequel. I've seen them.
So So for you to put it next to No Hope, you have to say it's better than Back to the Future. You have to say it's better than...
Freaking sentence. What a challenging world we live in.
This is what we do here.
Do you know what's crazy? Is Star Wars is at the top and bottom of our entire...
Yeah, we have Phantom Menace.
It's unwatched.
I don't know. Where do you stand on that? I'm gonna defer to you because you're like, oh my god, Back to the Future is my favorite movie ever.
Star.
You need to make a decision here. What does your heart tell you?
My heart is saying, let it.
There you go. That's
Okay.
all you needed.
There you go. Okay, then we'll put it next to New Hope. So it'll be the new number 3.
So is it just Star Wars at the top?
Yeah, it's Empire, New Hope, and then Jedi.
Gosh.
And then Monty Python, Back to the Future.
Then The Last Jedi,
Alright.
then Thor.
Alright.
Then a bunch of Marvel movies with Back to the Future Part 2, Ready Player 1, and Back to the Future Part 3, sure. And some
I
prequels.
think our benchmark movie is Ant-Man, right? It's like, in order for this to be a good movie, it has to beat Ant-Man. Or...
Something like that, yeah. Fair enough. If you had to give this movie a breakfast food, and you can't say the crepes you had in Toronto or whatever.
Oh, so I'm doing this. Oh.
No, you can. We can all decide it together. It's just you had that answer ready to go last time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was fresh on my mind.
So I'm just letting you know you can't have the same answer.
I mean, so just to fill you in, John.
Yeah.
Bacon and eggs, the actual food bacon and eggs was applied to Empire Strikes Back as like the holy grail of, I know we also did Holy Grail, but as like the holy grail of breakfast and movie, right?
Right.
And then steak and eggs went to A New Hope. So is this like...
Sausage and eggs?
I was gonna, yeah, we did mention sausage earlier. I think this is sausage and an omelet.
Explain the omelet. I'm curious.
Well, okay. So the omelet has cheddar cheese, spinach, mushrooms, and bell peppers.
That is interesting. I was not expecting
what do those
a
represent?
spinach omelet.
All the new characters that you're like, well, you know, I don't know them individually, but it makes for a good omelet.
That was
And
my
at least,
favorite omelet. And
at least
sold.
I've got my main character sausages over here.
I'm sold. I like it.
Sausage
there
and
we go.
eggs.
Sausage and an omelet.
I'll take it.
I don't know if I told you guys this last time. My breakfast every single day is bacon and eggs. So, but it is an omelet.
We tweeted about that recently.
I don't remember.
Possibly. I don't know. I know I've said this many times, and I've come to be known in some forums as eggs, but I don't really like eggs that much.
Put a little
What
salt
a
on.
crisis.
I could eat anything.
Imagine your last name is Negroni, which is like a cocktail that nobody likes.
Wait, what's a Negroni?
A Negroni is a cocktail that nobody likes.
Right, but what's in it? Like,
It's 1 part sweet vermouth, bitters, and gin and Campari.
oh god,
That's my legacy, man.
that sounds awful. Do you like
Well,
it? Do you think it's good? Do you
I've
kind
never
of
had
like
a
it because
Negroni
you
that
feel
I
like you have to?
No, it's like an Italian thing because before Puerto Rico, eventually my family goes back to Italy, or Corsica to be exact. And yeah, the Negroni is like our thing. I don't know why. I don't think it's very good, but you know.
Campari's a weird thing.
Yeah, the bitters definitely doesn't help.
No.
If you don't do it with bitters, it's not bad. But yeah, if you don't
I
do
don't
it
know.
with
I like
it's not
bitters in a
Negroni.
lot of things, but I can't imagine bitters and Campari going
You
well
gotta,
together.
yeah, exactly. Like you have to counter it with something. Like the sweet vermouth isn't enough.
Yeah. Cool, man. That's a toughie. I might have to have one of these just to. I'll give you my review, whether you want it or not.
Yeah. Guest post on JonNegroni.com.
We'll assign a breakfast food to the Negroni cocktail.
Why?
It's not good.
I could just see the t-shirt. Like a Negroni in the background, frowning, holding a poet mic.
It's like a faded orange
God,
t-shirt. That's how I'm
I love
picturing
doing
it.
these podcasts. John, it has once
Me
again
too.
been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you for coming back and discussing Star Wars and the various, inner workings of movie theaters with us.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to be in your presence over Skype. And I will say, it makes total sense to me that we spend an hour talking about Return and an hour not. Because Return of the Jedi is a movie about how much we love movies. So of course, it put me in the mood rewatching this to talk about theaters and all kinds of tangents.
Fair enough.
I agree.
John, how do we get in touch if
Well-
we are not already talking to you on Skype?
I've already blocked you guys on every other social media that there is. But for other people that I have not blocked, I'm most active on twitter.com/Jon Negroni. Pretty easy to find, especially because I interact with you guys a healthy amount. JonNegroni.com.
He's the one with the blue check.
Yeah, blue check. It's not like blue milk, but it's close. And, JonNegroni.com, that's where you can find everything that I do. Not everything I write, but, I write stuff on there, obviously, but that's where you can find my podcasts that I do every week.
Video bits.
We review the latest movies, and, you'll also find my books. And, I also put my videos on there too, so you'll find my face.
That's exciting. That's
I've been
excellent.
to JonNegroni.com a few times.
You've what?
I've been to JonNegroni.com a few times.
Yeah. I've mentioned the Carlin brothers a healthy amount on there, so.
I'm actually still upset with myself that I haven't read Killer Joy yet. I meant to do that between the last time we spoke and this time, but then I had to watch like 26 movies.
I feel bad because I feel like you guys would love the Audible, and that is just such a process.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, if and when you put it out on audiobook, I will have almost certainly listened to it within a week.
Oh, yeah, totally. I'll even pay for 3 extra credits so that I can get it.
But no, I do really want to read it, and I'm excited that you're going to have a second book coming out in September, and I'm 100% going to read it before then because I would love it.
Awesome. I hope you like it.
I think, based on the description you gave me, I don't think it'll be an issue.
There's also a wiki now.
Is there really?
So,
you have your own?
Yeah, so if you get confused while reading it, killerjoy.wikia.com. There's a whole fandom. Yeah, a couple of fans of the book made it. I've edited a few of the articles for accuracy, but yeah, it's expansive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That is super. We're talking to a blue check.
I know, right? Well, I think you're our only blue checked person on the podcast.
Besides, wait, does Jonathan not have one checked
Neither
yet?
of them do.
No.
Why not?
They haven't tried yet.
Oh, they could easily.
Well, nobody can right now.
Why?
It's closed. Like they're redoing the whole process of getting verified, and so you can't get verified anymore right now.
That's weird.
Well, it was after they verified the automatic algorithm verified a bunch of like KKK leaders.
Oh,
and people got super upset about that, and Twitter was like, "Oh my God, we're sorry. Let's shut everything down. Throw the whole thing away."
Yeah.
And so now they don't. But anyway, let's go ahead and sign off here real quick. He's been Tyler Carlin. He's been Jon Negroni, and I've been Ethan Edgehill. You can reach me at twitter.com/wownow. That's W0WN0W, and Tyler is at twitter.com/AmeriCarlin. That's America RLIN. Same handles for Instagram, and you can reach the podcast at Baconandeggs23. You can also get us at Baconandeggsmedia@gmail.com, or go to our website, baconandeggs.media, where you can find our blog.
Yeah. We write things on there occasionally.
I write things.
I've never read this blog.
Wait, we have one post.
Oh.
I reviewed Love Simon.
Oh, did you like it?
I did. It was cute.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can also find us at patreon.com/baconandeggs. Check out our sweet reward tiers.
Yes, you're so tired.
I did not.
You guys are exhausted.
What time is it in California?
8:17.
Wow. Must be nice.
That's about the time I got home from work, Eastern Standard Time.
But yeah, this has been super duper. John, you're always welcome back on the show, unless we have another guest. In which case, I guess we can make that work, but they might feel slighted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just talk over them the entire time. But thank you, yes.
We're just gonna start only getting Maverick.
Oh, I'm going to tell them you said that. You guys are always welcome too on Cinemaholics. If you ever want to do a bonus episode, or if you watch something new, I bet that would be interesting.
We would love to be on Cinemaholics.
Yeah, we would totally do
I wonder what
it.
you guys would like to talk about.
Anything.
Yeah.
Did you see Thoroughbreds? Did you do an episode on Thoroughbreds?
We've talked about it a couple times. Yeah, I love that movie. It's one of my favorites of the year so far.
I don't know if it's one of my favorites, but I did really like it. It stuck with me really well.
That movie. I have a thing for Olivia Cook, if it's not obvious enough already.
That's a pretty acceptable thing. I think most people do at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Between that and Ready Player. Yeah.
I'm dying for that girl.
Dying. You should tell her. You should
Me and
add
the
her.
dying girl? Well, oh, okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. What'd you say?
It's so, okay, the joke was, there's a movie called Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. The dying girl is Olivia Cook.
Gotcha. I never actually watched it.
Great movie, 2015, so worth your time.
Good. Okay, well, I'll check it out.
Anytime I feel like I'm really advancing in my ability to just name drop films and years, I have a conversation with you and
Try having conversations with
an
Will. Will's an encyclopedia.
Is
Oh
he?
yeah, he's seen so many movies. It's nonsense, but it's great because like he'll tell you things about a film and like yeah, he's a great resource.
Well, I mean, most of the movies I've seen were made before 1970, so it's not super useful in these particular conversations generally.
That's cool.
Anyway.
Because yeah, the 60s are probably my favorite era.
It's anything post-war really for me. Anyway, yeah, I think we're about done here. Our artwork is by Vashaun Brandon. I forgot to say that earlier. And thank you again to Jon Negroni for coming and visiting us to talk about Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. We really appreciate having you on there. And until next week, Arrivederci.
Admiral Akbar!
Obviously.